All right, so sound is speeding. Pug, I didn't prepare a cold open this time because you said that you had one prepared for me.
It's true. It's true. And people aren't gonna like it.
Okay, well, do it anyway because I don't have a cold open.
Okay, so I have a proposition for everybody. Let me know your thoughts.
Oh boy.
If anyone besides me uses the word redemption or the term redemption arc, you have to grab your phone and Venmo me $1.
Oh my god.
Hear me out. Hear me out. If I use the word redemption and the term redemption arc, I have to donate $100 to the charity of Min's Choice.
Oh shit.
Oh god.
All right.
I think it's very fair.
You know what?
I mean, yeah.
I have complained before about the overuse of redemption and/or redemption arc. And there is a slide where it's going to be very hard to avoid that word. But we're gonna do our best, people. We're going to break the cycle.
My Venmo
Question.
is at cappuccino. Yeah, go ahead.
What if I'm broke as hell?
And you should really not say redemption.
Okay.
Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to Min and Yang. It's the new and improved RWBY podcast from your seventh favorite fandom YouTuber, Eldona Doublecast. I am your host, Minerva P. Kelly, and the P stands for Penny Polendina Stan account. My pronouns are she and her. You can find me on both Twitter and Tumblr at Doublecast, spelled with a 5 instead of an S, because Doublecast was taken and I'm still mad about it. I am joined today, as always, by a wonderful panel of guests. When I go to your slide, please let everyone know your name, your pronouns, if you make content, what kind of content do you make, and where people can find you on social media.
Okay. Hello, I'm Bethany, or Raven, if you want to be cooler. I don't really mind. In terms of pronouns, the answer is yes.
Nice.
I'm the same username on Tumblr and Twitter, like BloodRaven55, which is a Warhammer reference, but that's a whole other story.
Oh god,
and
Warhammer.
in terms of yeah, listen, I was a teenager. We don't talk about it.
It's fine. It's fine.
It stuck. But in terms of content, I mostly just make a lot of like dumbass posts about random TV shows that I'm watching, mostly just like RWBY and other like animated shows, including I also do some like image edits and video edits and shit sometimes, but that's very sporadic, so like don't rely too much on that being consistent. But sometimes there's serious content.
It's fine.
But, yeah, that's me.
My content is also highly inconsistent. You never know. It's like you'll go 3 months without hearing from me, and then I'll upload a video a week for like 2 months.
Oh, I feel that.
Yeah, that's
okay.
a mood.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Leo. I use he, him mainly, or if you're very cool, you could also use AR, just a suggestion. But you can find me mainly on Twitter, at Transwrath. Very cool. I got that username like a week ago, and I'm very proud of it. And you can also find me on at Night in the Woods or NITW on Tumblr. I also have a YouTube channel. Yeah, I didn't really link it here. I didn't know if it was necessary. I think I'm the only person with the username I just wanna mow hay. So I think it would be pretty easy to find me. I make mainly a lot of really stupid, also very inconsistent videos about cartoons and stuff, mainly RWBY, other things. I do a lot of video editing, photo editing, stuff like that. Also, I have kind of a reputation for being the biggest Crow stan, and like, yeah,
It's true. Number one
That's valid.
crow shit poster on YouTube. Also,
absolutely.
important to note, everyone in the audience, this information on the screen right now is time sensitive because likely by the time that I publish this episode, Arav already changed both his Twitter and his Tumblr. So.
Oh, shut up!
Am I wrong?
No, but shut up.
Rio.
Oh, it's my turn. Hello, hi, I'm Rio. I go by he, they pronouns. I have Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, and OnlyFans. And it's all under Lipstick Giraffe. And I do shit posts, I do cosplay. I mean, it's mostly shit posting, I'll be honest. And I like to display my god complex on all of those. So, that's me.
Nice.
Out of curiosity, have you ever watched Review Starlight?
No.
I have a character.
You should.
I have a character to consign you. It's fine.
Oh, I love that image.
Thank you.
It's very
I'm
good.
Pug. I use she, her pronouns. I work in CG animation. I also like being problematic on Twitter. You can find me basically anywhere. You can find any of my public accounts at CatPugChino.
I have like the same 2 jokes for you, Pug, and I've already made all of them multiple times, so I'm out of material. I'm sorry.
You guys are just stuck with me.
I got nothing. So, okay. Some context for those of you who watch the podcast regularly, all 12 of you. First of all, good night. Hope you're getting a good sleep. Hope this puts you to bed successfully. But, normally, after the intro slides, I do a segment called Errors and Omissions, which is mostly an insurance joke, but is actually a way for people in the comments to either correct us on things we were wrong about or offer up their own, like, explanations or, like, fan theories for stuff that we didn't mention. But Pug is on this episode because she won the bets, because last episode was the mid-season betting special, and her predictions were the most accurate, so she comes back, and she very specifically said that she does not like errors and omissions, so out of respect to her as part of her prize, that segment is gone today. Also, conveniently for her, it didn't like cost me anything to remove it because there just weren't a lot of comments on the last episode that would qualify. So that there probably wouldn't even have been much of an errors and omissions segment anyway.
I can't believe I got a Haikyuu ship video and also errors and omissions is gone. I'm so happy.
It's okay. I have to do everything I can to make you happy because the discourse will be sure to bring down your mood eventually. All right.
Uh-oh.
Today we're talking about Volume 8. Oh, God. Oh, actually, before we get into that, we have 2 new people because I felt like expanding the roster for some reason, which means we have to do some further introductions. So, Bethany and Leo, tell everyone, how did you get into RWBY?
Yeah, okay. I'm actually, like, I'm not really an old RWBY fan. I got into the show, like, I think it was midway through Volume 5. And that means, like, the first episode that I had to watch immediately after it came out, like, after I had caught up, that was the, what's the one called in Volume 5? The one where Cinder negotiates with Raven?
Ha! I don't remember the,
Is it
name.
A Perfect Storm?
Yeah, a perfect storm.
I
That was
think.
kind of a lame episode to start with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but that was after Alone Together, right, as well, so that's like...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, even
Well,
more so.
But yeah, I think I actually watched the first episode of Volume 1, like, way back when I was younger, and I didn't like it, so I forgot about it, and then I randomly picked it up again. I don't remember why.
That is actually extremely similar to how I got into the show, because I watched a couple episodes when it first came out, dropped it the Jean episodes, of course, and then came back mid-volume 5. Ironically, or not ironically, hilariously, because I saw a bunch of YouTube ads for it, and I was like, huh, they really, like, improved the animation. Maybe this is worth giving another shot. And now look at me. I run a fucking RWBY blog. All right.
Nice.
Bethany?
Okay, yeah. So I got into the show similar-ish time to Leo. I was just about to start my first year of university, and it was one of Hammer Time's AMVs. The one to Emperor's New Clothes for Weiss, which gave me a very different impression of Weiss's character compared to what she was actually like in the show. I thought she was going to be like an anti-hero bordering on a villain, and then get a heel face. No, she was a bit of a bitch, but still a good guy from the start. But anyway,
well, that's just because Hammer Time is a shit poster, so you can't take her post too seriously.
That was my first exposure. I was
funny.
like, yo, this is a pretty cool edit. I wonder what the heck this show's about. So then, within like a week, I binged all of the first 4 volumes because they were all out at that point. And then Volume 5 started airing just like early on in my first year of university, and so that was the first volume that I watched. Every episode of that volume I watched as it came out. And since then, I've been watching the show just the second it airs.
The brain rot has been strong ever since.
Yeah, my brain, because it took over my brain. I was going to say regrettably, but not really, to be honest. But,
it's okay. There's a lot of brain rot on this panel, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah, and then I think I only got active in the fandom, it took a while. It was at least like a year or so after that, or whatever. And everything. I think it was after Volume 6, just after Volume 6 finished, that I made a couple of posts on Tumblr that blew up, and suddenly I was like, oh shit, I have followers. I guess I'm doing a blog. Cool.
It was very much my reaction to having a YouTube channel. I'm like, oh, people are subscribing to this? What?
Yeah.
Okay. So, now we can talk about Volume 8. Okay. This one's divisive. Man, I feel like people are all over the place with Volume 8. I've seen people dropping the show left and right. I've seen people calling this the best volume yet. People are split. So this is going to be a spicy fucking episode. I can already predict. I'm kind of mid on Volume 8. I think there are some things about it that work really well, and I think there are things that could hypothetically set up interesting stuff down the line. But A, I don't really trust the RWBY writers to follow up well on everything they set up, and B, there was also a lot of really dumb shit this volume that made me angry, which we'll get into later. But yeah, it's kind of in the middle of the pack for me, probably around where I put Volume 5. Let's go in reverse order. So starting with Pug, overall thoughts on the volume.
Overall thoughts on the volume are not good. But every time I say that, I think about the Winter I outrank you Schnee line, and I also think about Cinder Fireman carrying Watts, and I'm like, well, maybe. But then I remember everything else that happens in the volume, and that quickly dissipates.
Rio.
I'm kind of in the middle, I guess. Like, some shit is really, really bad, and then other stuff was kind of nice. But it's an okay volume, I guess.
Leo?
I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm not very difficult to impress. And also, this, RWBY in general is kind of difficult for me to judge sometimes, especially, immediately after an episode comes out. Because I've been so hyper-focused on it for so long, and it's, taking up so much of my time and my energy and my thoughts and stuff. It's kind of hard for me to criticize it too hard, even when I probably should. Overall, I think I enjoyed this volume, maybe not as much Volume 6 and 7, but I still think it was one of the best there's been so far. But that's just me personally. There was still a lot of stuff that I felt could have been done a lot better, though.
It's okay. You don't have to apologize for simping because we have Pug here to balance everything out. Bethany.
Yeah, no, I can definitely relate to what Leo was saying about like the hyperfixating and stuff, because like, yeah, that's a mood. But in terms of Volume 8, I think I'm not in like the like love it or like really dislike it category. I'm kind of in the middle, maybe leaning slightly positive, I guess, in the sense that like, yeah, there like overall I enjoyed the volume. I thought it was like definitely like from a technical standpoint, I think the show is very much like at its sort of peak at the moment. There were some things that I was just kind of like on. Nothing that I like hated, but just kind of some things that didn't land as strongly as a lot of the other stuff. But you know, overall, like, yeah, not one of my like absolute favorite volumes of the show, but pretty good.
All right, cool. Got a wide range of opinions. Okay, so time for more context for the people who watch this podcast regularly. Again, however many of you there are. Normally, I split up the podcast into the good, the bad, and the discourse, where we talk about stuff that was good in the volume, stuff that was bad in the volume, and stuff that people argue about a lot on twitter.com. But this volume was so all over the place in terms of what people thought of it that I just put everything in one pot. We're just doing it all at once. So we'll see how that goes. Okay.
Chaotic. I love it.
Yes. All right. First of all, let's get the stuff that people love to gush about out of the way. Visuals and fights. I feel like if nothing else, for Volume 8, you can probably put a lot of praise on the team this time around for like the purely visual aspect of the show, in that I think the lighting is better than ever. I think the facial expressions were really strong. A lot of the fight animation, too, I thought was really, I mean, not as, like, crazy fast and kinetic as it was in the first couple of volumes, but I think they've done a good job of, you know, keeping the fights feeling fast-paced even when, you know, there's, like, a big number of combatants and there's, like, a lot of talking going on.
Yeah, I agree with all of that, but also the like aura effects and like special effects for everything. Amazing. Like blew it out of the park this volume. I'm so glad.
They got so much use out of the aura, the like there's like the aura breaks and then there's the thing that happens before that where it like flashes.
Yeah, like the flicker and then it breaks and then it's like glitter. They used it so much. It was a little overused, but you know what? I'm not mad. I'm not mad about it.
They just gotta let you know when someone gets hit really goddamn hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can really feel it. Even if it doesn't maybe hurt them as much, it really, like, it adds to the experience of the fights, I think. It makes them feel, like, more authentic in a way.
The only, like, real issue I could notice with the visuals this time around was that I've noticed they've been using more 2D effects for certain things like fire and smoke. And some of them,
that was weird.
Sometimes it blends well with the 3D elements, and a lot of times it doesn't.
True. Yeah, I kind of noticed that with some of the center scenes.
Pug, did you have anything to say about this?
Sure. So when we talk about the visual effects, like the particle effects that were done in Houdini, I think those are fantastic. If whoever did those needs a job after this, hit me up. But that being said, there were some kind of really bad like 2D After Effects. There was one explosion I thought looked particularly terrible. And I totally acknowledge that in many cases is like a money-saving thing. And, you know, we can't have the amazing, you know, particle effects in Houdini if we don't do some of the shitty After Effects explosions, but I mean, they're really poorly executed and poorly integrated. I don't know if they were purposely going for that 2D look and they didn't blend it, or they were just, you know, fully going for a cost-saving measure, but there was like a really dramatic explosion that I could like literally see like how they had comped it in, like with some transparent PNGs, and I was like, yikes, that does not look good. That being said, I'm really, really sensitive to the fact that, I mean, I'm assuming some of the season was produced during COVID and everyone was work from home. So
Yeah.
I don't really like critiquing animation when, you know, the whole industry had to move their pipeline to work from home, because I'd rather everyone be safer. But lay off the After Effects and stick to Houdini for sure.
Honestly, okay, two things. One, is it an artistic decision or is it cost saving? Knowing RWBY, it's both. It's probably both.
Yeah.
But yeah, I forgot to put this on the slide, but it is worth noting that, like, yeah, a large portion of this volume, I think the majority of it was made during the pandemic, and where they had to move the whole pipeline remote. So, like, I mean, all things considered, it came out looking pretty good.
Yeah, I think it's pretty impressive.
Just gonna say that. I was just gonna say that, especially considering, like, with the pandemic and everything, like the fact that they managed to, you know, put out something that looks like pretty damn good, especially compared to like where the show's visuals were at the beginning, which we're not going to talk about.
We covered that ground.
It's really impressive that they managed to like put out. Like, I'm glad that they took the break in the middle to make things easier on the crew, but I think that was a good choice. But yeah, the fact that they managed to put out something that looks pretty damn good considering the circumstances is, yeah, deserves some credit for sure. And I mean, yeah, I'm not that hot on the technical side of things because I have no experience with, you know, art, animation, and that kind of thing particularly.
It's okay,
so
I'm
I
stupid
wasn't going to
too.
talk. Yeah, I wasn't going to talk too much on this topic, but yeah, I was just going to say, like, visually, the volume 8 looked pretty impressive. The fights were cool. Like, yeah, that's about the extent of my take on that particular topic.
I do.
The facial
like,
expressions are really good.
Oh yeah, definitely the facial expressions. I love those. I'm just looking at the slide right now, and like on the topic of like the Grimm, I just want to point out one thing that's been bothering me for so many years, and I can't let it go. Why do the Grimm in general not do that that eye thing that they did in the Volume 4 RWBY trailer? Like you know, the one like where the one like Beowulf turns its head and the eyes do the glowy thing. Why do they not do that? I wanted it for so many years.
Okay, I feel like everyone has like one thing like that like they personally get hung up on, where everyone else is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, for me, the thing that I get hung up on is Cinder has an attack that she uses a few times in Volume 3 where she creates like a thing under someone and then it explodes after a second or two. But when it explodes, in Volume 3, it always makes a noise. It makes, like, a screeching noise.
Oh, yeah.
And they brought that back in 8, but they didn't add the screeching noise. I was like, where the fuck is the noise? That's my favorite Cinder attack. Put the noise back in.
Oh my god, I noticed that too. That actually upset me when I watched it. Holy shit.
All of the good sound design went to the Hound, and they didn't have any left for Cinder's attack.
There was some good sound design on the Hound.
Yeah, there was. It was very creepy.
Yeah, there was. Okay, I just want to. But if anyone from RWBY is watching this, which I highly doubt. First of all, if you are watching this, I'm sorry, but yep, give Cinder her fucking sound effect back.
It sounds kind of like a tire, like a motorbike tire that's like going really fast or something. I think. Like it's like the kind of screeching noise.
It always just sounded like to me it always just sounded like a distorted scream. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, this is Minerva in post-production. Just for context, this is the sound that we're talking about. Let me know in the comments what you think that sounds like. Anyway, back to the show. Okay, so Pog mentioned this a little bit, but one nice addition I thought that this volume had, or I'm not sure if addition. One thing this volume did well is, particularly with the Hound episode, they had a few more horror elements than normal, and they were actually executed pretty well. I thought they successfully conveyed the vibe. Things were creepy. Things were spoopy. There was a real sense of tension. And I thought a lot of the Hound animations with like the way it transforms and stuff were like genuinely pretty unnerving, which is what you're going for here.
I like how slimy it was compared to all the other Grimm. It looked really cool.
They got a lot of
Yeah, it was
mileage
like a
out of that.
symbiote.
Yeah, a lot of mileage out of that water sim on the Hound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I think the visual effects and the sound design in that episode really combined to sort of create the kind of creepy atmosphere when the Hound was like first appeared and then was stalking them through the house. Like that whole episode, like I mean, I didn't have nightmares or anything, but like it was pretty. It was a little.
Scared me.
It was a bit spooky. Like it captured the vibe well, considering
Yeah.
that overall RWBY's not like a horror show, but with like the apathy arc in that episode, I think like the show does do just a little bit of horror, it tends to do it pretty well, I think.
Pug, did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it does horror a lot better than it does comedy, which I think is people are not gonna agree with, but in general, I think that scene with the Hound and kind of Whitley around the corner is actually scary and did make me think of the apathy arc. That being said, I don't know how I felt. I really like the Hound's design up until this point, but I thought the face reveal was a little like shrug emoji.
We'll get into that later. That's on a slide, many slides from now. But yes, I think that's valid. Also, on like a related note, I think one other thing that this volume did well is just like making the Grimm feel like more of a threat.
Yes, thank you.
Because this is a recurring thing, is it's like the Grimm have always just been like the cannon fodder, but this time around they're like the main antagonists, so they can't feel completely useless. And they did a good job of like, not just with the Hound, but with like, for example, when Blake is fighting that like acid spitting Grimm in like the yard, they did a good job of conveying both that it has like new like moves that they haven't dealt with before, but also that it like the Grimm are getting smarter in general. Like you see it like actually like dodge and deflect and do stuff that like we're not used to seeing from the Grimm. So I thought that was like a nice touch.
Was
They're
that
not just zombies anymore?
That fight was a little frustrating to me because Blake just seems so useless. I was like, are you the new Weiss?
Oof.
But I'm sure someone would make an argument that she needs Yang to fight with her, and I'm sure that makes people happy, so...
I think it's more just like rogues aren't supposed to 1v1 people.
Yeah, but...
Somewhat. I don't know, she used to fight different before her and Yang became like such a partnership that they have. Like in earlier volumes, she clearly was able to fight on her own, and it seems like as volumes go on, I don't know if it's on purpose, but whenever she's without Yang or like a partner, she's like really struggling in battle, but she used to not do that. So it kind of frustrates me a little bit. Like I don't think that she could just like lose that ability because she trained in the White Fang to do that for so long apparently, and then she just like forgets like okay.
I
You can cry out for the person passed out on the floor.
Yeah.
We just gotta get like 1 or 2 fights in the next volume or so where she like really turns it out and we can get back on track.
Oh god, I hope so.
Wait,
I want to say something about the Grimm because that was like my major point of contentment with the last time I was on this podcast, and like no one really agreed with me then, but like I feel like people agree with me now that like they see it be actually a threat. Last time I said it, people were like, oh well, like they're not the true villains. Like yeah, that's right, but they're like the biggest thing in this world that people have to worry about. So like it's nice to see like civilians being actually terrified of Grimm for once, and like them actually being a threat to even our main characters.
Yeah, I agree.
Also related to the Grimm, every part of the whale looks sick.
Yes.
Yeah, it did.
I love the whale. I know it has an actual name, but it's the whale.
Wait, well, oh right, Monster?
Yeah, it's technically named Monstra, but it's the whale. We all
It's
know
the whale.
It is.
He responds to the whale, it's fine.
Okay, so we mentioned fights a little bit before. I feel like this volume had a lot of them. Like, it was pretty fight-dense compared to some of the other volumes. And I'm interested to see if people had any strong reactions to them, because some people get very particular about the fights in RWBY.
I do.
Rio, oh yes, okay. Rio, you've been watching from the very beginning, so do you have any strong opinions on this matter?
I mean, I'm just glad that they're adding more fights, because for a while they kind of just left them out, and it was mostly just dialogue for most of the time. However, the fights kind of seem lackluster still, but that might just be I'm biased because I was here from like when the first trailer came out and was like obsessed with the fighting.
Right.
But they're pretty good for what they're doing, and I especially like with Emerald and Ironwood when she like flips and kicks him, and I like all the little
That was sick.
like technical things that they do where they like give people their actual personality in their fighting style. So like when RWBY like throws her weapon and then catches it, and things like that are really cool that they didn't really do before in like volumes 1 through 3. So I kind of dig it, but at the same time it's still a little lackluster. So
yeah.
Leo, you said you have a lot of thoughts.
Oh no, that was more kind of like I meant that like I get very invested in the fight scenes in general, even though I don't like I'm not very like into the technical part of the whole thing, but I'm just very easily captivated by cool looking fight scenes, and I'm not very good at picking up on the subtle details sometimes, but I kind of agree that this volume definitely had a lot more fights going on than usual, and I like that a lot. I appreciate it, and some of them actually, like, specific scenes left a big impact on me. Like, for example, the part with RWBY and Neo on the edge thing. But I do kind of feel like none of the fights in general, like, the whole fights left that much of an impact on me compared to what they did in other volumes. Like, it's something that I felt was kind of like worse than previous. I don't know.
I did think that they made good use of all of Cinder's like fire powers this volume.
Oh yeah.
I'm always excited when they do fun new things with that, like her creating like I think like all that one scene where she like hits someone with like a bunch of glass shards that like deflect and then go through the portal.
Right.
Yeah, that was neat.
Fun little effects like that. Also, side note, before we move on, can we please have less episodes that cause seizures? I feel like just out of respect for the photosensitive RWBY viewers, like it's nice that they have the warning, but maybe we should just have less of the flashing lights in the future.
Yeah.
How many episodes had that warning?
2.
I think 2, yeah.
But like 2 is still a lot for...
No, 2 is a lot.
Yeah. You get like 1 of those. 2 in a season is too many.
True.
Yeah, I mean, even 1 was really unnecessary, if I'm honest.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so one thing that people were talking about a lot... Oh, gotta remember the rule. Remember the rule. This is the slide where we have to remember the rule. One thing...
I'm gonna open my Venmo real quick. One
thing that people talked a lot about prior to the second half of Volume 8 is which characters who are working for either Salem or Ironwood are going to flip, are going to get the boot out of their mouth and move on and join the heroes. And people have been predicting this for a lot of characters for like multiple volumes now. And basically all of that came to fruition in the second half of 8. People were flipping left and right. Emerald was literally flipping whilst kicking Ironwood.
He flipped on Ironwood.
Poetic cinema.
But so there's a lot to discuss in terms of evil characters not being evil anymore. First of all, let's get the boring stuff out of the way. Hazel is dead, lol.
Yeah, they with both Hazel and Vine this volume, they did that thing of like I was very like before that point, my reaction to the character was like kind of just shrug emoji. I was like not invested, and then just in the scene where they die, I finally care like a little bit, and I'm like, damn, okay.
Yeah,
I'm like
same.
I'm like I don't really care about you, but that was a bit sad. Like so that was basically my reaction in both those cases. I was just like, I'm like, but also like, okay, that scene was kind of dope.
I cared about their deaths, but I didn't care much about them as characters.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
The death scene was like done well and everything, and I was like, okay, yeah, I care about that, but I don't care about you overall, but I care about that. Emerald's heel face turn though was one of my favorite parts of the second half of this volume. I love her. I'm now an Emerald stan, 100%. Just that entire speech where she's so awkwardly trying to give them a pep talk just stole my heart. Like, it was the best. It was exactly the dynamic I wanted. And the whole thing, like, like, you did the right thing. Yeah, I did. Feels weird, like, yes.
Yeah.
I love you. That was exactly what I wanted. Like, the fact that she's such a dork is just, yes.
God.
So, yeah.
They really Prince Zuko'd her.
They did. It was great. Because I love that thing. I love, like, the antagonist switching sides and just being so awkward. It's so funny and wonderful.
God,
it's the best dynamic. It's the best dynamic. And with regards to Winter, I mean, like, obviously as a lesbian, like, woman very hot.
Woman
like,
hot.
Very sexy. Yes, she was so... every badass Winter moment is just like, I'm fine, this is fine, I'm cool, I'm keeping my composure. But I will just say, Elizabeth Maxwell was... I think we can all agree Elizabeth Maxwell was so fucking good this volume.
I think...
in, like, especially the last, like, couple of like, damn...
I think the voice acting this volume was just really good in general.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, it was.
I think most people gave, which again, considering that a lot of them were probably recording from home, like in quarantine, is pretty impressive. But yeah, I can agree with that.
Getting back on the subject of Emerald, one, I think the dynamic you're talking about is the Vegeta dynamic of like, I am now reluctantly a part of like the good team, and I'm going to complain about it the whole time.
Yes, exactly. I love that. It's the best dynamic.
There's little Patra in there too.
What I hate with heel face turns is when the antagonist like loses all their personality when they switch sides, you know? Like they go from being a cool antagonist to being the most like bland, vapid, boring kind of good guy. I really like that Emerald. If anything, Emerald gained slightly more personality, or at least we saw more of her personality with her switching sides, which was, I think, what made it work for me. Like, yeah, and just I mean, I feel like at some point, obviously in the future, she's probably going to confront Cinder, which will be like a whole other like turning point for her. But because like, I feel like a lot of people sort of like I don't think her kind of heel face turns very much solidified, but it's not like 100% completed yet because until that happens. But we'll see about that. But I like that we
I like that we can really tell that Emerald is the exact kind of same person that she's always been, but now she's just starting to realize what's going on and that she can do something good instead with like what she has. And I really like that. I really like how, like you said, she almost gains more personality, or like just from seeing the side of her, it's really nice in every way. I loved it.
It gives her something to do other than simp for Cinder. That's the important part.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Finally.
Pug, if I may ask, if you would like to pull out the villain fucker PhD and provide us a take.
Villain fucker PhD is present as always, but I think these kind of arcs are not particularly exciting for me for obvious reasons. But something that I sort of feel like was missing, and maybe they can knock out of the park later, is that Emerald leaving didn't really consider Cinder in a way. And, you know, you can argue that, like, oh, she was done with Cinder, so she wasn't still processing that. But the expression on Cinder's face when when Jin showed her what had happened was like, oh, this is angsty now, and now I care. So I just kind of want to see that reciprocated from Emerald's side, and nobody cares, right? Because everyone's like, oh, we don't want Emerald to be a Cinder synth anymore, and it's like, well, yeah, but consider it, but make it worse.
She has to wrestle with it.
I would like
I
to
do
see
wanna
her
see
wrestle
that.
with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need her to
Yeah.
go back to like. I don't need her to be a simp, but I would like to see her wrestle with it a little more. And I don't think that that's far fetched in a later volume, so I won't.
Yeah, I
be
think
too hard on them
when
now.
when she sees
I can
Cinder again,
definitely
I
see
definitely
that.
want there to be a little bit of hesitation in the sense of just like, oh shit, like I've not had to deal with this yet.
Yeah,
You're gonna
she
need
kind
some
of
therapy for
Yeah.
that.
she
like,
basically dodged it this time around because she
Yeah,
went
exactly.
through the portal to Vacuo like earlier in the
Yeah.
fight. But yes, she'll have to contend with that eventually. Side note, one thing, not anytime soon, one thing this opens up the possibility for is certain people's favorite highly underrated ship, which is gemstones, Emerald and Ruby.
I dig it. I became aware of it after Emerald's arc this volume, and I kind of like it. It's cute. Like, not like one of my
It
main
is
ships,
cute.
but it could be cute. Like, it's fine. I like it. Why
There's
not?
validity there.
Yeah.
Again, it's like it's not going to be like one of my main ships. I'm definitely not going to make it like a main ship for Ruby for me, but it deserves more content.
That's
That's
cute.
cute.
I agree.
Okay, let's get back to Winter. Because I think this was another thing that people have been waiting for a very long time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think okay, this ties a bit into the Ironwood slide, which we will get to later. I think you can argue about like how far Ironwood needed to go to make Winter and the Aesops actually start to question him was maybe a bit excessive, but
Yeah.
she did get there, and I have to say, watching her kick Ironwood's ass is so incredibly satisfying.
It was brilliant. The one line I really liked was the bit where she's like, "I've never wavered in defending this kingdom from its enemies," like, and I'm not gonna start now. Like I could kind of see that line coming, but I was still just like, yes,
so
thank
good.
you.
It was
Yes,
very
it
well
was
Winter
great.
hot,
Like,
brain
go off,
rot.
go off. I love it.
Winter hot! Oh,
Yeah,
what do I do?
basically, I'm not gonna lie and say that didn't play any part in my enjoyment of those scenes. Okay.
I
Yeah.
I'm the only person here who's not biased, I think.
Maybe.
oh right.
Yeah. It's okay if we talk about Crow. Your bias can come out, Leo. It's cool.
Alright.
Winter. Wait, hold on. Winter and the Ironwood thing that you were just saying. I feel like they were all questioning him for a really long time. Like, I don't think that it took that long, but it was like the point of this is someone that I'm supposed to look up to, and as for like Winter, like this is someone that she's looked up to and worked with for like most of her life, so it's
She
like
was
not
kinda
easy to
groomed
just
into-
go against
yeah,
someone
she
who
was
like
kinda
basically
groomed.
raised her.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like that's her father figure.
Yeah, because she
In a way,
can't
yeah.
stand her actual father for obvious reasons.
And now she can't stand her adopted father.
Give them a break.
I think something that's so sad is that she looked to Ironwood as someone who's not like her father, and you can really see it on her face the moment she figures out he's exactly the same. It's pretty heartbreaking.
God.
Oh,
Soul
man.
crushing.
I think
Well, yeah.
one of the things that this show actually does really well is plot lines based around abuse and
Yes.
the cycle
Yeah.
of abuse.
I would agree with that.
And I think this is just another good example of that, is that Winter going from father figure to father figure, and
Like, she didn't even realize she was just kind of exchanging one thing for another, like, instead of actually breaking out of it. She
Yeah.
she thought that I think
Yeah.
she thought that she had found a way out of it, and then she's like, oh shit, no.
Yeah.
But now finally she's actually broken out of it, which is great.
Yeah. It
gives
makes
all
that
the,
scene at the end so much more powerful
Yeah,
when she's like coming out of the portal and like crying and looking at
Yeah.
her family and realizing
Yeah.
like, what have I done?
yes.
Yeah.
Kind of going off of that though, I think Whitley is a very surprising character. This,
Oh
That's
yeah,
Whitley,
that's on this
brilliant.
slide too. Let's just get
I've
into
adopted
it.
Whitley. He's now my son.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think they did it. I think they did a really great job with Whitley, and I think the line from Weiss's mom being "Don't forget about your brother," and then Weiss saying "I didn't forget about you" is
Yeah.
is
Aw.
very
It was
wholesome
nice.
and sweet.
Like, because Whitley was
Very
never like
good.
evil. He was just a bit annoying. So like he didn't need to do much to make up for it. He just like Jack.
True.
Once Jack was gone, like he got a lot better, understandably.
Yeah.
And it was nice.
I think.
But I just.
Oh.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's like a key point with Whitley is that people were shitting on him really hard when he was first introduced because he was annoying, like on purpose. But
Yeah.
it's pretty clear, and people had pointed this out before, that it felt like he behaved the way he did specifically to please Jacques. And so
Yeah.
once Jacques was
Exactly.
gone, it basically frees him up to just not be an asshole anymore. And I thought that turn made a lot of sense and was well executed. And I thought, again, like Pug said, a lot of really good, wholesome moments between him and Weiss. Because again, like I mentioned this in the last episode, but the stuff with like the Schnee family is like all done very well. And I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
it's
with
really
one
realistic.
exception. I think with one exception. I think that, like, you know, talking about reactions to abuse, and we've hit that topic a lot about the Schnee family. I felt a little bit that Willow wasn't allowed the space for her coping mechanisms and was villainized a little bit for it in this volume in a way that Winter, Weiss, and Whitley are just not. I think it gives everyone a lot of space to have their reactions, and I think it really it looks down on Willow's coping being alcohol in this like tense situation. It's clearly something that like she is an abuse victim as well.
Yeah.
That's my only critique, is I think Willow should be allowed the same space that the other members of the family have been.
That's fair.
Yeah, I agree with that. However, I do think that they allowed her a little more room for like talking about her and in a more positive light than the last volume when they introduced
True.
her as this like drunkard, like can't be helped type of person. But at least in this volume, they like gave her a purpose and allowed her to help in the Hound episode. And like they showed her at the end with Whitley and like clearly caring about her kids. And like I feel like she could get an arc at some point, maybe, or just like a little blip of showing that like they don't hate her for her coping mechanism.
I mean,
Yeah,
they
well,
kept,
Because I
What
do
kind of
feel like
arc are you
their
referring to?
situation. is very
Pug.
realistic.
I mean, they kept her alive, so it's a possibility.
Yeah.
I will also say, like, she was helpful in Volume 7 because she set up the spy cam.
It was her cameras that
She did, yeah.
That let them get
But they
Jacques.
still villainized her a little
Very-
more
which
in
was
that.
very
A little
satisfying.
bit. I will say, though, I think they make up for it by giving her an absolute dump truck ass.
Fuck yeah.
That's a great
No.
detail.
MILF.
Last thing
Go
before we move on, Marrow was another character that people were talking about flipping for a very long time, and again, we finally got that.
I'm so happy.
Leo, I feel like
it was really good.
you're like the main Aesop's fan here. So, well, I mean, as much as they can be. So, you want to jump in on this?
God, I don't even know how to like put this properly. I have no idea how to like. I don't think I can. I'm not smart enough to express this in a way that makes enough sense. Like, but I'm just so happy for him. I think his characterization in this volume was spot on. I think like I really, really, really felt for him in every like in the scene where he talked with Winter before they took the bomb away, and especially like the confrontation with Ironwood. That was just so good. And also, shout out to Mick, I think his name is, for like the amazing voice acting on Marrow's part. I love him so much. I really love him.
Yeah,
I'm so happy for him.
I thought they did a good job setting that up in terms of even in Volume 7, you could see Marrow having doubts, which is why people have been predicting this for so long. And it's like, that's just like some good planting and payoff, you know?
It was very satisfying.
Yeah.
We love to see it. And also, like you said, I really love that speech he gives to Ironwood, where he's like, do any of you even believe in anything? Because that's like really how we're feeling at that point, is like, what are you even trying to accomplish now?
He really spoke for all of us in that moment.
Yeah.
It was just the whole scene with him and Winter, where the way that she like so like is so smart with the way she steps in to save his ass and everything by pretending she's gonna check it. Like that felt very in character for her, as the way that she got him out of there. Like that made a lot of sense, and just their whole interaction in the elevator afterwards was so funny and great. Like yeah, they like their dynamic was just really cool there. Like it
sibling energy.
Yeah, exactly. It was just like Winter's got used to dealing with siblings, so that was just funny. Like she's got another one now.
She's the older sister who has like the maternal instinct.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's so married. She's just like, I'm adopting him now. Okay, we're done here.
Yeah, looking forward
Thankful for that.
looking forward to seeing more from him in future volumes.
Yeah.
Could be some good stuff. Oh wait, sorry, I need to. There we go. Okay. Okay, so the other big thing this volume that I think really stood out is this was the Cinder volume.
Yeah.
I don't think people realized how much of the Cinder volume this was going to be at first.
Oh, yeah.
But it absolutely was. Rewatching, the first thing that stuck out to me is she's the opening image.
Yes. I noticed that on my rewatch as well. I was like, they really told us that she was gonna like she was gonna be a major player when like it literally opens with like the little hint of the flashback.
It still managed to surprise me.
Same.
It's interesting because it's like they gave her character development, but unlike what everyone sort of expects when you give a villain character development, which is the R word, instead, they just made her worse.
I love it. I love it.
Like
they like that's the thing. Like she got character development, but instead of like becoming a better person, she just got better at being evil, and I love it. Like, yes, this is cool. This is cool. Cinder's finally becoming like a good, interesting villain somewhat, and I'm like, yes, thank you. I appreciate this.
So I mentioned off before our recording started that every so often people on this podcast can be weirdly prescient, and one of the observations that was made way back in Volume 5 was Pug said something to the effect of like, I'm tired of Cinder losing all of her fights because she just seems incompetent now. Like, Cinder doesn't feel like a threat anymore because she just keeps losing and losing and losing. And amazingly, when Watts roasts her, that he literally goes like point by point through all the things we discussed and directly calls her like ineffective and like shitty for that.
He came with a 10-page call-out document on Cinder, and it was amazing. Like he had his receipts there. He was like, "You fucked up this time. You fucked up this time. You fucked up this time." Like, girl, you need to sort your ass out if you want to be a good villain. I like that whole scene.
Oh, shit, sorry.
He was at the end of her arm and he's calling her out. It's like, bitch, you're not even good enough to drop me right now. You probably fucked that up too.
Like, literally.
He was like, if he had this plan, I'm gonna do it roasting her. Like, he had been waiting, and I love that for him. Like,
he had planned this for years.
Exactly.
Oh, well, not years, but yeah.
He was standing there taking notes the whole time. Like, every time she fucked up, like she spills a coffee cup on Salem's like lap, he's like there, like, girl, I've got you. Like,
every time.
Yeah, all those villain meetings in that room in Salem's thing is him just with his notepad, like, oh, Cinder just winked at Salem, like, oh, that's a fuck up.
Yeah, like he's just pointedly writing every time she does something, and she's just glaring at him like, bitch.
Yeah,
I love that dynamic.
It definitely is like a Google Doc with receipts and 24 anonymous animals reading it at the same time.
He has a burn book, but only for Cinder.
Like
24 anonymous animals.
It's like every actual call-out post ever made on list everything they've ever done in their life ever.
Exactly. It was great.
I think, oh god, what was I gonna say about, Watts is also, like, the perfect person to do this, because the contrast is that Cinder keeps, like, breaking from Salem's plan and then fucking up, because she's trying to, like, pursue her own power and her own goals, whereas Watts has been following her direction pretty to the T this entire time, and he's actually been very effective in terms of, like, hacking into like all of the Atlas stuff and screwing things up for Ironwood. And he was the one who warned her during that scene with Raven, like, hey, you probably shouldn't be allying with her because she will absolutely double-cross you. Like, she's only in it for herself. What do you expect? So,
True.
yeah, it, like, it all comes full circle, and then she uses that to become a better girl boss, and we love that for her.
And what I also loved is the way that that conversation she then has with Neo, where she puts that into practice, and she like does the whole like, you know, I'm sorry, it was my fault, you know, I fucked up, but like, so you know, like, but I'm gonna make it up to you now to keep Neo on side. It directly parallels what Salem does to her at the beginning of the volume when Salem tells her, you know,
Right.
I've been holding you back when I should have been lifting you up. And it really shows how Cinder is so entrenched in the cycle of abuse that she does not even recognize that Salem is playing. Well, either she does and she thinks it's like fine and she's fine with it, or she doesn't recognize that Salem is playing her the exact same way that she's now learned to play like Neo and the others, which I love. Like it's a very good representation of how that like goes down from character to character. So I really like that.
I agree. I have like a whole post on Tumblr about this because I am hyper focused on this story apparently. But it's like Salem is a narcissistic abuser and is also like a victim of being abused herself. So it's just like this consistent cycle of like her and Cinder and how their stories are basically the same. If you put Salem's backstory episode next to Cinder's, she has Ozma as her quote-unquote savior person, and Cinder has that huntsman guy that I forget his name.
Rhodes.
And they both betray them, and then they immediately toss them aside and become, like, more manipulative and evil, because they're like, oh, this person is not useful to me anymore. I don't like them, I hate them, and they split on them, and then they continue their continuous cycle of abuse, and I just think that that is wonderful.
Yeah. I just also want to say, like, I love the fact that, like, Cinder, we finally see Cinder cry, and, like, it's not because of, like, any kind of, like, actual, like, oh, fuck, I'm a terrible person. It's literally just because Watts told her that she was being shitty at being evil. That's so great. She has this whole aspect. She finally just shows, like, this one tear, and it's just, like, because she's like, wait, I'm not being evil enough. No.
It's like it's
so great. It's perfect. I love it.
She listened to the Volume 8 mid-season podcast. That's basically what happened.
And she's just like, no.
Speaking of which, okay, Pug, since this was like your gripe to begin with, do you want to go in on this a bit?
Yeah, I just have one thing. I'm just gonna slide Villain Fucker PhD back across the table. There are very few things about this show that make my dick hard, but one of them is absolutely the framing of the word worthy around villainy. Peak sexy. Like the concept of being worthy and being worth something and being worth saving people is such so tired and overused. And the concept of framing like you are supposed to be the lead villain of the show, but you are not worthy of it, and then becoming worthy of it. I was like, every time the show drags me back in, I honk my clown nose, and I have no one to blame but myself.
Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
Woman hot.
Woman hot. Woman still hot. If you don't follow actual Bambot on Tumblr, that is the source for all the best Cinder art. Would highly recommend. And as a final note for this slide, Jessica fucking Negri turning it out yet again.
Oh,
True.
yeah.
Should we just let the VAs record from home forever? Is that what I'm hearing?
They did a good job. Yeah, again, the voice acting this volume, top notch. I feel like if anything peaked in volume 8, it was that.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, we have to talk about straight people.
Do we have to?
Yes. Okay, so Ren and Nora had a lot this volume, actually. We spent a lot of time on them. For better or for worse. I feel like when this volume started, there were sort of hints of this in 7, But it really came to a head in 8 of just everyone being really annoyed at how much of a dick Ren was being early on.
Yeah.
I think I'm kind of torn on this because they gave him an arc around that. And I think I liked the scene we got for, like, the payoff. I enjoyed how it ended, but I'm not sure if they properly set up why he was specifically the way he was. Like, how do I put this?
Yeah.
The idea that his reactions to being in, like, a situation he can't handle or, like, doesn't feel emotionally equipped for is to kind of shut down and block everyone else out, because that mirrors his semblance where he literally can block out the rest of the world, and his, like, the way he uses it is that he has to be focused and he has to, like, be sort of meditative to use it properly. Like, that's really cool. I really like that element of how, like, someone's personality is, like, reflected in their semblance and in their fighting style. And also gives, like, a lot of context to just, like, how he is in general. But, like, that really doesn't feel like it ties super well into, like, him, like, going along with, like, Ironwood's stuff and, like, thinking that, like, they shouldn't be huntsmen. It feels like there's, like, a little bit of a disconnect there where it's like, it makes sense that he's pushing people away. It doesn't make sense, like, the specific way that he's doing it.
I can kind of see that.
It also felt, like, really abrupt last volume. Like, all of a sudden, he just started acting like a dick, and everyone was just like, dude, like, what?
It was definitely a bit they went into it a bit more in this volume for obvious reasons, but it was definitely it didn't feel as out of place, I guess, as it did in volume 7.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I just want to say that. Sorry, you first.
I was just gonna say it makes slightly more sense because it's like, yeah, something really, like, crazy and what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, maybe traumatic is the word the point is that, like, everything's gone to shit, and so it makes slightly more sense that he's, you know, kind of acting out of sorts, that he's not super, like, composed, and he's, like, reacting badly to it, basically. But in 7, it really didn't make as much sense because it didn't, like, that sense of crisis wasn't there.
Yeah. I just
not at that point, at least.
Like, sorry.
I just like the thing you said about, like, the kind of, like, the pressure wasn't really, like, wasn't as big of much of a pressure in volume 7, like, at that point in time when you could kind of feel him beginning to change a bit. It made more sense in volume 8 after everything has kind of gone to shit, but early on in volume 7, when he was already kind of the, like, strict, cold military dude, the stakes weren't really as high at that time. So it definitely felt kind of weird.
He just seemed hungry for boots.
It seemed like it's weird because it's like you could have a character like that who's like, I just need some order in my life. I need to feel like I have someone who, like, has a plan and knows what they're doing. And it's like, yeah, like, he's been with Team RWBY long enough to know that, like, you know, Team RWBY has had a lot of W's, but they also definitely make everything up as they go. And so I can see, like, being able to set up a character who wants more sort of structure and wants someone who seems more organized, but that doesn't really feel like it ties into the rest of Ren's character.
No, especially when Ironwood was like, like, who cares about Mantle? And then Nora, his partner for, like, ever, is like, yo, like, what are you talking about? You can't do that. And Ren's just like, oh, I don't know, we should just follow what he's saying. Like, bruh, what?
Exactly.
Sure.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say about, like, the sort of final main Renora scene in volume 8 that, like, I really like it is so rare to see that thing where a couple are like, oh yeah, like, we're in love with each other, but, like, right now we need, like, this isn't exactly the right moment, so, like, we're gonna just like, we acknowledge, like, they, like, it was such a healthy, good good communication.
I appreciate that scene a lot.
Exactly, because they were like, you know, they both were just like, yeah, they like, again, Ren finally was just like honest about his feelings and communicated with her, and she did the same and everything. And so they like there was no big conflict, there was no arguments or like dumb misunderstandings. Like they like, you know, she was like, he was like, I love you, and she was like, yeah, I love you too. I just need like a bit of me time. And he was like, cool, I'm fine with that. And then they did the forehead touch, and it was adorable. And I was
it is rare to see a scene like that.
It was very refreshing. It felt very like, it felt right, but also like different to so many of like those sort of scenes you get where you have like forced kind of conflict or stupid misunderstandings. And like it was nice to just see them actually just like, in a way, like it was like a big scene in the sense that like they said I love you and everything, like it was, and everything, it was important, but it also felt just kind of understated in a very nice way for me. So yeah.
I think this is the first instance of something that I think is a recurring issue with 8, which is what I call outline logic. For those of you who've ever tried writing a screenplay, first of all, I'm sorry. But second of all, an important part of writing a screenplay is that you have to do an outline first, where you just lay out like the broad strokes of what happens. And when you're writing an outline, you're trying really hard to like, you're thinking very formulaically. Like, okay, I have like, this needs to happen on this page, this needs to happen on this page, I need to hit all these beats, there needs to be rising action here, falling action, like, you know, you're trying to basically check off boxes. And what I've noticed is, when I'm writing an outline, sometimes, quite frequently, I will put something in that sounds good in the outline because it checks off all the boxes, and then I put it in the script, I'm like, wow, this is shitty. This just doesn't work at all. And I feel like that's sort of a recurring thing with 8, is that there's a lot of stuff that feels like this checks off all the boxes, and if you wrote it out on paper, it would make sense. But like the way it's executed is just kind of unsatisfying or like sloppy. And I think Ren's arc this volume is a good example of that, in that like, yeah, you could like write it all out on paper and you can see like the progression from A to B to C, but there's just a lot of points where you're like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, while we're on the subject of Ren, I think it's funny that his semblance is essentially making the subtext text. But, like...
It really is, though.
It honestly feels like the writers just, like, giving a middle finger to their audience, being like, you fuckers can't read subtext to save your life, so now we need to put in a guy who says it out loud.
My girlfriend said, like,
God.
They got so sick of all the stupid-ass, like, misinterpretations. They literally were just like, okay, we're, like, you wanted us to show not tell, but we're gonna spell it out for you, because clearly this sign will not stop you, because you can't read, so we're gonna tell you. Like, that's what it feels like. And everything, which is, it's pretty funny.
Personally...
Thank God for vibe vision.
Vibe vision. It's the vibe check. That's his semblance.
Literally, he gives people vibe checks.
I think that is, like, the problem with that is that, like, I feel like that's giving in to sort of a bad instinct, in the sense of, like, the people who are missing the subtext are going to be shitty about your show kind of no matter what, I think.
Yeah.
And so
I do agree with that,
So even, like putting in things like, for example, having him say to Yang, like, oh, you don't have to hide your fear behind jokes, right? Like, I don't know, stuff like that, it feels like you're literally just saying, like, hey, audience, you're too dumb to notice that this is, like, her coping mechanism, so we're just gonna put this, we're just gonna say it explicitly, but I feel like that's not gonna satiate anyone, that's not gonna make anyone who's, like, bitchy about the show happy, so it's like, I'd rather you just, like, make it, just, like, keep doing what you're doing and just ignore them.
I get that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It kind of gets annoying sometimes when characters just say stupid things that are pretty obvious to anyone who can read subtext, and then they make it like this character arc for that character.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's, like, nice because, like, the one thing I like about that is that we get to see Ren, like, the idea that, like, Ren has to confront his emotions, and in doing so gains the ability to, like, perceive other people's emotions, like, physically. Like, that's a cool concept. I think it's just
Yeah.
done in a very ham-fisted way.
Yeah. It's executed kind of weird.
Cool concept, questionable execution. Running theme.
Yeah. Yep.
Definitely.
Okay, the second half of this is Nora. And I feel like I'm conflicted about Nora, because what I was expecting from Nora, what I was hoping for, is that what they were setting up in that first scene where she's like, God, who even am I without Ren? First of all, again, more like self-aware writing, because it's like, I think Pug said this before, but it was like, they really looked at her character and were like, damn, who is she without Ren? And they decided to just make that a plot point.
True.
But I was like, okay, well, if they're setting up her being like, God, what am I, other than like, you know, cracking jokes and hitting stuff, the resolution to that would be, oh, she discovers who she is beyond that, right? But what it feels like is basically she's aware that that's what she needs to do, but they've sort of pushed that to another volume, and so now we basically have to hope that they like follow up on this successfully later. So part of me wants to be critical because this wasn't resolved, but part of me wants to give them some leeway because it's implied that they're going to deal with it at a later date.
I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Like, the way that the conversation with her and Ren went obviously sort of like ended on that note of like, she's like, right, I need to do this for myself before we like, so yeah, it felt like they were sort of going, okay, like that's gonna be her like next thing that she's doing, and then
it's probably setting something up.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll see. But it felt like it was setting something up to me.
But RWBY has never started a plotline and completely dropped it. That's never ever happened. I don't know. This is obviously very frustrating, I think, for Nora. I mean, she realizes, who am I besides Ren, and hitting stuff, is promptly knocked out, and then is awake again when Ren comes back, when he's had all of this time by himself to have this realization and this character development, and he returns to Nora in the exact place that she started. And yes, of course, it implies that she'll have character growth, but the concern for me is that it will just return to how things are, because the show has defined the way that they were previously as friendship. So if it returned to the way things are, but they weren't dating, technically that would solve for the conversation. I just hope that it doesn't. Like, I do actually hope that Nora gets time, but I'm just concerned, now that they've been reunited, that we won't have that. And I think that actually might be because the writers don't know who Nora is outside of that.
I don't think anybody knows who Nora is. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't understand Nora stans. This volume was the first volume that I ever even like cared about her a little bit, because they gave her a tiny little like sprinkle of characterization and then promptly knocked her out, like you said. But like, I don't think the writers know who Nora is. I don't think anybody really considered giving Nora a character arc. So like, I don't really know what there is to cling on to for Nora yet.
I think
I'm hoping that she does get characterization.
Nora kind of like, Nora started out as a character we were supposed to be laughing at, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, she was like comic relief.
Exactly.
That's it.
They haven't really. I like to give. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I like to believe that they're going somewhere with this, but I'm still a teensy bit worried, like with some of the stuff you guys said. But I am kind of. I'm hoping they're going in the direction that. But yeah, when you make a character like her, that's from the very beginning just kind of comic relief without any substance other than that, it is kind of difficult to make her a character that that you're in general supposed to really, really care for. I like Nora. I've always liked Nora, but if they don't really do more with her after all of this, then I'm going to be pretty disappointed.
Yeah, I think you bring something up that this reminds me a bit of all things, a YouTube comment I saw on like the first podcast that I sort of brushed off at the time, but now feels relevant.
Oh God.
Which is someone said something to the effect of like, after a certain point, Nora stopped fitting the show. And I've always liked Nora, so I never really thought about that. But it occurs to me, it's like, oh, like, because of the huge gap between, like, volumes 1 through 3, most of 3, and, like, the end of 3 onward, like, early on, it was such sort of a... People consumed RWBY as such like a turn your brain off popcorn spectacle kind of show that having a character who was pure comic relief was fine. And in fact, it was good. I liked Nora a lot early on because she was entertaining. And I thought like most of the jokes don't land, but like I would usually laugh at her. But as the show has become more character driven, it's kind of weird to have a character who doesn't develop and just makes jokes. So now they are forced to contend with the fact that they have a character who is not designed for the evolution of their show. And
now we pray.
Yes, and now we pray.
Yeah.
Literally, whether you think this Nora's stuff in this volume was a good thing or a bad thing is just like, how much do you trust the writers?
I think if the comic relief character was male, we wouldn't be having this conversation 8 volumes later. It would have already been resolved. And I think that's my biggest problem with it. Saying
they
that, like,
probably would have went like a Sokka route if it was a male character. But because it's a female character and her only like way that she exists in the show is as Ren's counterpart, like it gets a little dicey.
Something fucking Jean.
I don't think it's fair to say that having a comic relief character means that they won't have a character arc later on, because I think there are tons of series that do that really well. I think the problem is that she's a comic relief character, that she's a woman, and that her entire identity is, derived from her male counterpart. And I think that's where it's frustrating, and not considering those factors, I think is disingenuous.
Very, very true. It's really just, like you said, she's a woman, and, like, so much of her character is just tied directly to Ren, and it's limited them a lot, and they need to find a way to fix that, basically. As a final note, before we move on, the scars are permanent! Yeah!
Yes, that's pretty cool.
I'm so glad.
That's pretty cool. Like,
I was so
that
worried.
is very cool.
It looks dope, and just,
I'm very happy about that.
Them.
We love to see it.
She has to deal with the consequences of her own actions. Good.
I just love anything that gives, like, how do I put this? People who draw, like, really buff fan art love doing, like, scars on people, and so, like, I love the material that we get.
Yeah, scar sexy. Continue.
Okay. God. All right. We gotta talk about Ironwood, because...
Boo!
Boo. Yeah, okay. So, this is another instance of what I was talking about earlier, which is outline logic. Shit that makes sense when you write it out on paper, but then when you actually put it into the show, you're like, wow, what the fuck is this? Ironwood's arc. Like, every time someone talks about Ironwood having a bad arc and going, like, out of character, like, betraying his character or whatever, people always come out of the woodwork on, well, not really out of the woodwork because they're constantly posting, but people always come out on Twitter and be like, look, this was foreshadowed. We knew from the very beginning that he was an authoritarian. That was set up, like, literally the moment he shows up. We've set up that he doesn't care about Mantle, and he will just sort of, like, he considers them disposable. All of this was foreshadowed. So why are you complaining about him doing this? Because, it's all there. It's already in the text.
But poorly executed and heavily foreshadowed are not mutually exclusive.
Correct.
This is ridiculous.
True.
Correct.
Exactly.
That is my point. It's another instance of, like, yes, it all makes sense if you lay it out like that, but actually watching it, there's some stuff that just feels sloppy.
I mean, it is sloppy. This is RWBY, so, like, what do you expect?
Well, we gotta critique. This is what we're doing. I think the problem is, like, the rate of escalation if that makes
Right.
sense. There's a couple, like, big jumps that kind of catch you off guard, because the escalation was so gradual in 7 that it felt extremely natural and very compelling. And then what it feels like is, I said this a little bit last time, it feels like the writers, after he shot Oscar and decided to take Atlas into space, were like, okay, he's crossed the Rubicon, so anything he does now is fine and in character. It just makes sense.
No, shooting Oscar was awesome. Shooting that other guy was stupid.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And
Shooting Oscar was awesome. Okay.
No, it was. I mean, I think that escalation felt very natural. Like,
No,
Yeah.
it did. I get you, but just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that statement
wording.
alone, if you just isolate that, is
Oh no,
just
I don't
hilarious.
mind. Fuck them kids.
fuck them kids. I think I mentioned this on the last time, but we have new people. I use a shot, that picture of Ironwood shooting Oscar, as like a reaction image in my Discord server for like if minors are doing some dumb shit.
Good.
It's the fuck
Good.
them kids react. Anyway,
Instill fear into them.
sorry, Pug, you were saying.
No, I mean, I just, again, it being foreshadowed and dropping the ball, like they're not the same at all. I think
Yeah.
I don't need Ironwood to be good. I just need him to think that he's good or that he's doing the right thing, and it just gets to the
Right,
point
right.
where his decisions are like increasingly ridiculous in a way that I don't think works for the character or doesn't work for the character in that moment. But again, like we always knew it was going to go this way. Yeah, of course we always knew it was going to go this way. But I thought that, like, at the very least, since they had done such a good job previous to this season, that the payoff would be rewarding, and it just absolutely isn't. I mean, I liked his character before then, and I come up short with good things to say about him. I mean, with the exception of, I think the winter fight is really fun.
Yes.
It really works
Yeah.
for me. I'm a little annoyed at the gun thing because I had that idea a really long time ago.
You did?
I did, yeah. When we first started watching RWBY, I was like, when you were explaining how it works, you're like, okay, it's a weapon and then it's also a gun. I was like, can I have a gun that's also a gun? Like,
Yeah, and then
Stolen.
he fucking brought out a gun made of 2 other guns.
I know. I was
Gun,
like,
gun.
The gun, yeah, the gun. You know what it looks like? They gave him the BFG from Doom. That's literally, it's just the BFG.
it's the BFG, and then also he has terrible aim.
Yeah.
He has stormtrooper aim with it, because of course, right? You can't give a character a gun that capable and then actually have it be a threat. Like, he can't win that fight. So it's kind of like, it's like it's the Dreadnought X-Wing thing. Where, like, yeah, of course, building a Dreadnought sounds like it's a great idea, but not if, like, a single X-Wing can take it down. You should always just build more X-Wings. That's just how that math works out. But yeah, I just think it's unfortunate, and part of me thinks, and this is something RWBY does, where when they're like done with a character, they will accelerate their plot line dramatically.
True.
And I just feel like Iron Daddy kind of suffers from that. It's like, okay, Iron Daddy has served his purpose. We're now going to pivot to, like, the Cinder as being the main villain. So we're just going to get this arc finished because we're tired of it. And it's like, ooh, that is embarrassing for you.
I think I think, like, the moral here is that we're never getting anything like Gravity in Volume 7 ever again.
No.
That was just a really good episode. I loved his characterization there. Like, the switch there, like, from what, like, a few minutes. That entire episode is great. I love it.
I've been quiet mostly just because I was never really, like, invested enough in Ironwood's character to have a strong opinion on him. In a sense, like definitely, like, in Volume 7 especially, all the things that came up in Volume 7 that were foreshadowed in Volume 2 were, like, so cool, and that was really great, like, to see that all come back when he becomes a much more important character. So I definitely really, like, loved that sort of arc from, like, his introduction then through to the end of Volume 7. In Volume 8, I think this was one of the things I sort of said earlier, that there were some things in Volume 8 that sort of just elicited a sort of like very kind of shruggy reaction from me, and I think Ironwood was sort of one of them, in the sense that like it didn't sort of like it didn't like annoy me a whole lot, the escalation with his character, but at the same time, like there were individual like scenes or moments with him that were really fucking cool, but then the rest of the time I was kind of just like, yeah, whatever, like that's like fine, okay, cool.
Yeah, he's not as interesting,
because there were other things I was enjoying a lot more. Like it didn't feel like a sort of definitely to me it didn't feel like a sort of character assassination or like kind of complete butchering, but it was more just like like Volume 7 was his like peak kind of as a character, and then Volume 8 just sort of like, okay, I
appreciate that Ironwood. I appreciate that Ironwood was such a big threat in Volume 8's story, but I agree that like caring about like what happens to him as a person and a character, that it wasn't the same as in Volume 7. But I do appreciate. I do appreciate that he was actually kind of a scary threat. Yeah.
I pretty much feel the same way. And one thing I'll say is, like, for example, that the scene, like the cinematography and lighting and just like voice like Jason Rose did a great job with the voice acting.
The voice acting.
The voice acting.
He was very great as Ironwood, like to the point where it's difficult for me to imagine anyone else like playing the character.
Right.
But one thing I'll say, for example, like the scene where he announces his plan to drop the bomb on Mantle and everything, and like the lighting and cinematography and like voice and delivery of the lines in that scene, it's really fucking good. So that's what I mean by like there are moments where it was really cool and everything. Just but his overall character in this volume, I'm just sort of like, okay, you're there, you're doing kind of like you're continuing kind of down the trajectory I expected. I'm like I was focusing on other things. I was too busy enjoying other things to like spare much sort of like investment for Ironwood.
I still think that the I still find it hilarious, the whole thing with the live stream like announcement, whatever. Where is that light coming from? Why does he look like this?
Exactly. Like, it looks really cool, but I'm also just like, damn, you're dramatic. He's dramatic.
Mike Wazowski.
You're behaving like a dramatic theater kid.
Mike Wazowski. Okay.
Damn, bro.
So,
dramatic theater.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't really I wasn't as captivated by the lighting and voice acting in that scene, just because I was like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is stupid.
Yeah, same.
That's fair.
Final note before we move off Ironwood, him killing Jacques is kind of epic. I kind of love that.
That was something I did like.
Some people.
I do want to comment before we move on, though.
On the one hand, yes, Jacques dead. On the other hand, he kind of stole the choice away from the other Schnees, and then I'm like,
I actually disagree with this. I have discourse on that, because I think that like the thing between the Schnees and Jacques was just like breaking free from him, taking his power away from him, both like in Atlas and over them, and I think that was already accomplished. So like I don't really care what happens to him after that point. Like he could die in just like the collapse of Atlas for all I care. So having Ironwood be like sure thing, and then just blow up his fucking cell.
It wasn't like when it happened, I was in the moment, I was like, yes. So
certified poggers moment.
Absolutely.
Okay, wait, before we move. Okay, so all I have to say on this is just like the Ironwood characterization thing. Like the only thing that gets me is the fact that there are so many people who I guess stan Ironwood who did not like Volume 7. And I'm like, dude, like, then you're going off of Fanon. You're not going off of Fanon. Because that is where his character was going. Like, Volume 8 is not good. I'll give them that.
Like,
Volume 8
7 was
kind
the
of
best
butchered
Ironwood
him.
volume.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was the best. It
like
got everything that he was moving towards and like put it in front of you.
It's like how Volume 6 was the best Adam volume, but like, so I'm like, if you stand this character, why are you annoyed at the best, like at their best?
Exactly.
Point in the show?
Yeah.
I don't get it. Like Adam became
They're
such a
like,
better
oh no, he
character
would
in the
never do
final-
this. Like, yes, he
I
would. He would. He
Like,
would.
All right. I think we
Like,
need.
too bad he already did, bro.
I think we've said our piece on this. I think
Yeah.
we've
Yes,
covered.
yeah,
we've
that's
covered.
it.
We've covered all the ground. Ironwood.
Okay.
Ironwood stands down horrendous. Hey everyone, it's Minerva in post-production again. Before we move off Ironwood, I just wanted to point out that there was a thing that happened about a week after we recorded this podcast, where there was some debate in the fandom over whether or not Ironwood is, like, actually dead for good because of this show's reputation for, like, heavy air quotes, killing characters. But that was cleared up because in a ironic twist, an Ironwood simp paid for a cameo from Miles Luna where he was supposed to, like, give Ironwood fans some words of encouragement and some positivity in the wake of their favorite character getting absolutely owned and going off the deep end in Volume 8. And he did not do this. He instead called the character a dickbag for like 2 minutes and then confirmed he was dead. So, sorry we couldn't get any takes in on that. I don't control when this shit drops. Down as bad as you can possibly be.
Okay, but that dump truck pass, though.
The what?
You're right.
Oh,
You're right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. They did give him a wagon. Okay.
Ironwood from the back, lit.
That's
Ironwood
why-
from the front.
The
I like
ass,
it.
ass so fat he has 2 seats on the council. Okay. Okay.
Use the council.
I have a bit of a rant.
Go for it.
Okay.
Go
So
for it.
forgive me for going off here.
Here we go.
So, after the penultimate episode of Volume 8, when Penny becomes human, there was a lot of discourse on my dash and my timeline of people being very mad about the decision to give Penny a flesh and blood body. A lot of people came at this from the angle that this was sort of a betrayal of her character arc. That Penny's arc was about learning to sort of view herself and getting everyone else to view her as a quote-unquote real girl, even though she is not flesh and blood. Like, it is okay for her to be different. She is no less human, basically. And people felt that by making her human, they were ruining that. Now, I foolishly, in between those 2 episodes, was thinking about the podcast, and I came up with a whole thing for why actually this is a good decision, because my logic was, yes, like, the fandom has read her character in this one specific way, and this is how a lot of people in the fandom view it, but the writers have a different vision for her, and if you go back and look at her history, look at, like, where her character's been out before this, it actually makes more sense. So, because, like, the perspective that like, I was viewing it as I was like, oh, her being human is about choice. It's about agency, because that's
Right.
what her actual fight has been this whole time. It's been trying to break free from the people controlling her. And, like, whether that's, you know, whether that's Ironwood and Atlas, even, like, that fight she has with Pietro, when they're arguing about, like, holding up Amity. Like, it's just people always telling her what to do. Like, even something as subtle as, like, Pietro, like, remoting into her to, like, do the computer stuff and that, like, that's what her arc is, and so it's like, it actually is a good conclusion for her to become human, because it's like, this is the final manifestation of that, in that not only is she free from everyone mentally, she's free physically. It takes away this part of her that was physically letting other people control her, and now they can't do that anymore. Now she's free, there are no strings on her, it's Pinocchio. It makes sense, right?
I agree, yeah.
That was what I had prepared. And
And
then
it makes perfect sense, though.
and then they decided to fucking kill her again.
Yeah.
And this completely changes my thinking on it, which is the way that this feels to me, this feels bad. This made me angry. I have not been this angry at a TV show since episode 33 of Revolutionary Girl Utena. But the difference is that episode 33 of Revolutionary Girl Utena is good. This is fucking stupid.
I just want to note, I just watched Utena, fucking amazing show. Loads of trigger warnings, but everyone should go watch it anyway. Okay, thanks, bye.
So good. Read the trigger warnings, read the content warnings, but yes, it's amazing.
Do, but please, if you can cope with it, watch it, because, yeah.
Yeah, anyway.
Sorry.
So, yeah, sorry, this is getting long. I'll try to wrap it up. This, to me, feels like they came into Volume 8, and probably 7 as well. They were definitely thinking about this in 7. Wanting 8 to be the low point, right? If you were to compile, like, all 12 volumes of RWBY...
This is the second act ending where everything goes to shit.
Correct.
Before the final... Yes.
Yeah. That's what I think this is. I think they laid it all out like that, and they're like, okay, the end of Volume 8 is the low point. This is where our heroes have to be down as bad as they can possibly be. So we need to really crank it up for this volume. So we need... And... Like, I think they correctly identified that just knocking everyone into the void would not have felt like the absolute low point. Because we've already had Volume 3 where they killed 2 beloved characters. So it's like, it has to be, like, worse than that, right? It has to be more...
And the audience would know that the main 4 are all gonna survive.
Yes.
So that the void thing is, like, I mean, it's cool, and it was good for, like, momentary angst for the others, but, like, it's more just a vehicle to get them into the Wonderland place they're gonna go.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole other thing.
Even after...
But anyway.
Yeah, even after, like, that episode where, like, Yang got knocked in, like, some people were
was great angst. That was delicious angst, because you know she's gonna be fine, but I was just rejoicing. I was like, this is like Percy and Annabeth all over again. Give it to me.
One of these days I'll read... One of these days I'll read the Percy Jackson books, and that'll be really funny to me. But anyway, yeah, like, that's good for angst, but, like, you know, we know that they're not gone. So like, they're like, we really need to crank it up. And so what this feels like is they came up with an idea that's like, how can we inflict the most emotional pain on our audience possible? And what they thought of was, we have to kill a character. It has to be a character that everyone loves, and it can't be a character that we see coming. And again, in a bit of outline logic, they said, oh, Penny, we have the capability to bring her back because she's a robot. Everyone loves her. And because we already revived her, no one will expect us to do the RuPaul's Drag Race thing of bringing someone back and then eliminating them again in the next episode. And they're like, that will be maximum emotional impact. And then, like, to make it even worse, they have Jean euthanize her at her own request just to, like, make it more traumatic, basically. And, like... It's shock value. It was done entirely for shock value, is what this feels like.
I kind of agree.
Yeah, I mostly, like, this was the other thing in like in the second half of this volume that I was like I think what got me about that was that I actually was like had a very neutral reaction to it, because for me, like, I don't know, Penny becoming human, I was down for all the reasons that you were talking about. And I still actually don't really have a problem with that. But her death was more just like, again, I can kind of see the logic that led them there. I can kind of understand what they were going for. But it's this case of, like, it didn't hit me the way I actually think it was meant to. Because everything was so crammed this volume, and for the most part that was fine, but in this particular case it kind of, like, I never really got that into Penny's, like, that arc of Penny's, so I wasn't sort of, like, yeah, when it happened, I'm just kind of like, huh, okay. And so like, on the one hand, I wasn't like crazy angry about it, but also it wasn't the gut punch for me personally that they like clearly wanted it to be. Like the two positive things that kind of came out of it were basically like Winter Maiden Winter, and I think that potentially Jorn could get some good development from this.
Yeah.
We'll see in Volume 9, because I'm interested in the fact that I feel like that's probably why he fell with the others, so I'm interested to see where they go with that. That could be good, we'll see.
Yeah.
Those are like I'm down for Winter Maiden Winter. Penny's death, I'm just kind of like,
I want to be clear, yeah,
shrug.
Winter
Yeah,
Maiden
like-
Winter owns.
Like,
Yeah. Agreed.
I will say, like, again, there was that, like, it was, like, from a technical standpoint, not, like, a writing standpoint, a technical standpoint, again, like, it was well executed. There was, like, the shot of Jorn's reflection in his sword and stuff, like, the way you don't actually see it, like, he just, like, again, that aspect, those aspects were good, but from a writing standpoint, it didn't hit me the way that I might have kind of expected it did and everything, and it didn't really. So on the one hand, that meant that I didn't have like super negative emotions about it, but it also didn't really have the effect they intended. So yeah, like I will say, like the whole, like again, I don't agree with the reasons that people were like mad about her becoming human, because I feel, as you say, that was rooted in a purely fanon interpretation of the character. One that I did have, but that I can recognize was just my interpretation as who I am.
Yeah, like it's fun, but it's not
exactly.
It's
like,
not the actual text.
Right.
As we know, this is a big problem this fandom has in general. So like, we're not going to get, but with that kind of stuff. But
here you go, bitch. Since you want to project.
But projecting is completely fine and good, and it's a valid way to connect with media. But at the same time, you have to be able to recognize when it's your projection versus the actual text of what is happening.
Right.
Like,
don't send death threats to the creators over your fan in theory, please.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, basically TLDR, like. Like there were a couple of potentially decent like outcomes from it with other characters, and her becoming human, I was like, that's fine. Like, I didn't have any issue with that. Her actual death kind of fell flat to me, and I'm just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, like, I have some thoughts related to that, but we also need more people to talk. So, Rio. I feel like you were one of the more invested people in Penny prior to this. What was your reaction to this nonsense?
Well, her death kind of pissed me off because just like I feel like there were so many ways that they could have done this finale and still had an impact. Like maybe Winter wouldn't have become the maiden, but like Penny didn't need to become human just to immediately die. I feel like that entire episode with that, I forget his name, the genie guy.
Yeah.
Ambrosius. Yes, thank you.
He was great.
That whole episode,
he was great.
like, what was the point of, like, that entire scene of making her human if they weren't going to do anything with it? And if the point of her becoming human was literally to make the choice of her killing herself, basically, like, that's kind of fucked, I'll say
Yes, exactly.
That's fucked.
I think
I agree.
That's fucked.
You know what?
So for her to do all of that and struggle her entire life with, like, I can't make choices, people always make choices for me, she finally becomes human, and then her only choice that she can make, and she's allowed to make by the writers of the show, is, hey, John, kill me. Why?
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Pug, did you have any kind of reaction to this, or were you just kind of like, whatever?
I guess I'm on the outside of this in the sense that, well, a lot of people say that RWBY operates on the kind of paradigm of rule of cool, but I would actually argue that it's two things. It's rule of cool and it's also convenience.
Yes. This volume particularly.
In this moment, it is convenient for Penny to die for shock value, and it's also convenient for Penny to die so in that exact moment Winter can become the Winter Maiden, and if at any point it is convenient to bring Penny back, they will do it.
Yes.
I know that everyone's like, oh, the reason they made her human was to make it seem that she was really dead this time. Which I guess I could believe if Pietro wasn't like, hey, I can res Penny one more time. And Kendall himself said, what is a soul? Like, what is the shape of a soul without a body? If they hadn't put that thought in my mind, perhaps I would be convinced. I'm not saying that they're definitely going to bring her back. I just think if it becomes convenient, they absolutely will.
Yeah. I think that ties into, like, some of the stuff I was talking about earlier with, like, you know, it's stuff that accomplishes something mechanically in the story. And again, it's like they foreshadowed this. They have her trying to sacrifice herself over and over throughout the volume, but like that doesn't mean it works. It still feels bad. It still isn't satisfying. Leo, did you have any strong feelings on this?
Yeah, I'm kind of I've been very conflicted about this whole thing for like ever since the episode came out and seeing how different people reacted to it in different ways. But it's so difficult for me personally to have a strong opinion about it. And that's only because, like, we've technically already watched her die once in Volume 3. And that scene was very difficult for me, like, in a good way. It generally made me very sad, but also made me look forward to where the story was going with this. But already having watched her kind of die once and already having, like, already getting the, like, the emotional, like, whiplash from that, it kind of ruined my whole vision on this scene because, yeah, it just feels like kind of doing the same thing over again. Like I kind of agree with everything you guys have said so far about, like, from a writing standpoint, why it's maybe pretty problematic in different ways. But in terms of like how I personally felt watching that scene, it just didn't really have an impact on me because I'd already kind of seen it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel. Like, as I said, like, I think that's part of why, like, I was just kind of like, like,
it's the Far Cry 3 definition of insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over, expecting shit to change, or in this case, expecting the audience to be, you know, as having the same reaction they did the first time.
Right.
I think the other half of why this pisses me off is that, yes, it is nice to have Winter get the Winter Maiden powers. Like, that's good for her. I like seeing it. I like seeing her use the powers and her reflect the BFG back at Ironwood and all that. But it feels like they know that this is shitty fundamentally, that like they are doing this to create like shock value and to like make people sad. But they want Penny's arc to have a satisfying conclusion, but like you can't have both. You know, like you can't make this a satisfying conclusion to her arc and have her be killed for shock value. Those are like they're opposed to each other, you know?
It's kind of like they were more focused on giving Winter the maiden powers rather than giving Penny the conclusion she maybe deserved and could have gotten.
Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely.
The one final thing I will say is that the "You chose nothing, this was a gift" line was really fucking cool. She delivered it so well. Like, again, it's like that's kind of how I feel about a lot of those like, I love everything to do with Winter in the final episode. I'm kind of like I pretend I do not see it when it comes to how we got there. Like, I'm ignoring. I'm neutral. I'm a big shrug when it comes to that. So I'm just gonna focus on the fact that the
Winter
Winter was great.
Yes,
which I think ties into what Leo said, where like they were focused on the like positive things that could come from that happening rather than maybe like the thing itself, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yes. But I am also interested in seeing where this goes for John and maybe also RWBY particularly.
Yeah, exactly. I think there could be some good stuff with that next volume on the on the place they've ended up and stuff, which is.
I hope they do something with that.
Yeah, I have thoughts on this, but I have this actually as a bullet point on another slide, so we will save that for a moment. But as a final note,
no. I said don't put it on the PowerPoint, and you put it anyway.
I said you don't have to talk about it.
Fine.
Why the fuck is she barefoot?
You know why she's barefoot. You know why she's barefoot.
Unfortunately, rewatching the volume, it pissed me off how often there was a close-up of her feet, because
You know why.
as soon as Pug told me, she was like, there's a fucking foot fetishist on the animation team, and that's why she's like that.
I made a tweet about that.
100%. We're going full Quentin Tarantino status for the last 2 episodes.
All animators are either a furry or they have a foot fetish, and some of them are both. And I fucking see you. I see the person that put this in here. I see you. I know that you convinced them, oh, the staff of creation isn't going to replace her metal parts. Oh, really? Why is there a bow then? Huh?
You
can't make any socks.
My only thought was, damn, get her some shoes, please. Like, that was literally it. Like,
It's unsanitary.
I was like, can someone get this girl some shoes, please? She needs them.
All I'm gonna say
What
is,
are those?
someone on the someone in Ruby is gonna listen to this podcast, realize what happened, and then it's gonna become like a game of Among Us with the animators. Who's the imposter?
Go check the storyboards. It's the storyboard artist.
Okay. The last 2 slides, well, 2 of the last slides, there was a lot of stuff that I wanted to at least mention, since it was kind of important. It could be important, but it just didn't deserve a slide to itself. So we got a lot of like random shit to go over here in no particular order.
Can I talk about Ladybug, please? Can I talk about Ladybug?
We'll get to Ladybug. We will get to Ladybug.
Okay, fine.
Wait, I might have accidentally put that on 2 slides. We'll do it on, I think, wait, never mind.
The brain what's getting to you.
We'll do it on one of them. I made this at like 11 p.m. I wasn't focused.
That's valid.
First thing I want to go over. Oscar is actually like getting better now. I kind of care about him, and he's like way more interesting than he was in the past, which feels like a big deal, because I feel like he was the character where I cheered when he got shot. So, to go from that to someone where I'm like, damn, I actually want to see more of you. I want to see where this goes. Quite the accomplishment, IMO.
I always liked Oscar. I always enjoyed him as a character, kind of. I thought he was fine, but I definitely started to like him a lot more and appreciate his role in the story a lot more in Volume 8. I feel like he's the kind of a character who I never had a problem with him at all, as a character, but I think we can all agree that his introduction, like at the very beginning in Volume 4, and most of the stuff after that, didn't really, it wasn't really that good or that impactful in any way. But I still liked him. But yeah, I agree. This volume definitely made him feel it made him feel like as relevant as any of the other main characters, and it definitely made me care about him a lot more.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that was the issue with Oscar, is that his introduction was really weak.
Yeah.
Because they had to set him up as, like, you know, just the humble farm lad, the small uwu bean, who has never done anything wrong in his life. And that's just, like, I mean, some people like those characters, but not super interesting to me. So giving him something to actually contend with just fleshes him out a bit and makes him more interesting.
I really like to focus on his whole conflict about, like, merging with Ozpin this volume. I think that's, like, probably the most compelling thing about him as a character. And also just his, like, younger brother relationship with, like, John, Ren, and Yang and everything. Like, the reunion moment with them was very sweet. Like, I like how
Joyride in general.
Yeah. I like how he sort of integrates it, like the moment like where Yang flips the bike and he's like screaming, like the little moments like that, kind of like he's gradually integrating himself into like the group dynamic a bit more, and I like that. Like I care a bit more about him. He's getting a bit more interesting. That's good stuff.
Pug, you were like the #1 Oscar hater on the podcast before. Did anything in this volume compel you at all? Have you turned around even a little?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's fair.
I don't know if Eli listens to the podcasts that he's not on, so I'm just gonna keep my mouth shut.
It's okay. It's okay. Just from the implication, he will understand. Okay, another thing I wanted to bring up is the Hound, because we finally got the Hound reveal. First of all, congratulations to Pug for being the only person to correctly guess that it would be a person, but not one of the people we thought it would be.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. It's a bird.
I think I actually liked this plot point a lot. I mean, I know that like we discussed how the face looks kind of weird. It doesn't have the impact they wanted it to, because I think you don't realize that you're looking at a silver-eyed dude until you like rewatch it a couple times. They're like, "Oh yeah, I see it now."
It's not very obvious.
I think the problem with this is like a minor gripe with RWBY, but it comes up over and over again, is that like having silver eyes be something that like isn't super obviously a superpower was useful for making it be like a big reveal in volume 3 that RWBY has this power. But the downside of that is that it kind of makes it hard to tell when you've encountered a silver-eyed person, because it isn't super like you know, normally when you do like eye-based powers, it's something like the Sharingan, where like you can very obviously tell that this is like supernatural, but with the silver eyes, it's not super obvious. So if you introduce a silver-eyed character, you have to go to great lengths to make sure we notice that, which is bad for show don't tell.
I agree.
A little frustrating, but that's kind of a minor gripe.
Yeah, tangentially related, the choral music at the end of that episode with the Hound Reveal.
Oh yes,
so good. So good.
Yeah, I actually thought that
the entire soundtrack this volume was like the instrumental stuff and everything was really on point, but like that bit especially stuck with me. Like, whoo.
Same.
Like I studied Latin, so I'm a bit of like a nerd for like the Latin chanting, but like it did it for me. It was great.
The what is it? The Hound has like a theme, like a leitmotif that plays every time it shows up, and I actually thought that was really good. It added a lot to like the horror vibes.
I have a question. I don't recall. Does anyone mind that they killed a person? They don't care, right? Doesn't come up.
I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's like, once you've been turned into a Grim, like, omae wa mo shinderu.
I mean, they showed a little bit of, like, anxiety over it, but also I feel like it's more a case of, like, I mean, clearly by that point they were kind of putting the guy out of his misery from what you could see.
Yeah.
So, like, and also self-defense, so, like, I get,
In before, when they have to fight the Summer Grim, then it's a problem. But it wasn't a problem with this guy.
Yeah, well, that is, anyway. Yeah, I think this is like an interesting setup for future things. I think I like that it gave us like this really emotional moment with Yang and RWBY.
Yes, that was a great scene. Just the way Yang hugs RWBY in that scene really gets me.
I feel like this is another one of those things where it's like, how much do you trust the writers? Because it's clear that they're setting up shit with Summer Rose. Like you said, Pug, we will probably encounter the Summer Rose Hound at some point in the future, and it'll be very emotional when they have to kill her. But I don't know. I like there is a lot of potential here, and who knows? Like, yes, RWBY has a long history of dropping plot points and dropping the ball on things, but there's also been a lot of really good planting and payoff at various points in the show. So it's kind of a dice roll, you know? You can never be sure in one way or the other.
This is what they hopefully will follow up on in a satisfying way.
Yeah.
Yes. Much potential. We'll see how it pans out. We will see. This ties into what Pug was talking about earlier with convenience, in that one of the other convenient things was just like splitting up the parties, because they really like that conflict between Yang and RWBY didn't really mean anything. There wasn't really much of anything there. It was purely arbitrary just to get some different character interactions and to have people to put people in the specific places they wanted them to be in, basically.
I got dunked on last time.
I brought this up. I got dunked on.
there wasn't much of a payoff between that. Like they didn't even like kind of bring it up after Yang and Ruby reunited. I like the scene where they reunite, but it felt, I don't know, the conflict between them in the first episode maybe wasn't necessary at all.
On the one hand, part of me wants to be like, as someone with a brother, part of me wants to be like, I found it funny after the first episode when people were making it such a massive thing that they had like a minor argument, because I'm like, as someone with a sibling, like that's really not like, that's not a thing, okay, guys? Like, it's gonna be fine. You know, like, I said worse things to my brother because he stole, like, my food, you know, like, it's not a big deal.
I think,
but, but on the other hand, I do agree that it might have been nice to, like, see a bit more kind of, like, and who knows, I mean, maybe in Volume 9 that'll come back, maybe not, who knows, but it would have been nice to see maybe, like, a little bit of a discussion about it when they reunited or whatever. But then we did get the really nice scenes regarding Summer, so I'm kind of like,
Yeah. Okay, Bethany, it's real ladybug hours. Hit me.
I was supposed to say, like, everything about, like, the dialogue between Blake and Ruby and, like, the Hound episode, just, I love it. It's so good. Like, I'd always definitely read their, like, relationship, obviously, as, like, the sort of, like, it's becoming, like, an older sister, younger sister thing. I mean, Ruby's literally going to be Blake's sister-in-law, so, you know. But, like, and I always saw it as, like, Blake seeing her younger self in Ruby, you know, and kind of, like, seeing a version of herself who was still optimistic and before all the trauma and abuse, you know, did happened. So I really liked having the moment of Blake acknowledging that, and, you know, and telling Ruby that, and reminding her that she, like, and saying that she looks up to Ruby in that sense, which I was just like, that it's so sweet. And
it was very sweet.
And again, like,
very sweet.
And again, like, the bit, like, and, like, from, like, a technical standpoint, like, the fight afterwards was not, like, one of my, like, absolute favorite, like, fights that I would go, but the interaction between Blake and Ruby at the end I did really like, just with Ruby's little, just adorable little, like, chuckle when she's like, I heard you. That was just so cute. Like, I loved it. It was great. And yeah, I feel like it confirmed that sort of, like, vibe I'd always got from their dynamic, and it cemented, like, you know, Blake's respect for Ruby as a leader and everything. And yeah, it was just nice. Yeah, it was nice. I liked it a lot. It was cool to get that. So yeah.
On a related note to Blake seeing Ruby as sort of the younger version of herself and someone who's, like, more optimistic and idealistic, this is like, okay, this might be a me thing, or this might be something that a lot of people have thought about. One of the things that I was taking into consideration when thinking about Penny Death 2 was, like, what could this do for character development? Because, like, sure, I think it was shitty, but there are things that they could do. I don't think this is going to happen. I wouldn't place money on this. But there are things that could happen that would make it at least a little more interesting and make me feel like, okay, there was a real purpose to this beyond just, fuck you, we're killing a character you like because you have to be sad. And specifically, I want to talk about Penny's relationship with Ruby, because I think it's interesting that they knocked Ruby off into the void before killing Penny, so she couldn't see
it. Feels like there's gonna be a moment where she finds out about that and has to deal with that. Because I feel like I have some thoughts on, like, Volume 9 that I'm gonna save for the end, but, like,
yes,
it feels like Volume 9 is gonna be a more, like, kind of slow paced, like, character focused, you know, mental recovery from the end of Act 2 low point, you know, before they go into, like, the final, you know, push when they get to Vacuo. So I feel like that it's plausible, not certain, but plausible, that there's going to be, like, a thing with Ruby finding out that happened, and, like, that being the, like, domino that, you know, pushes her kind of to finally have to confront all of the feelings she spent ages repressing into neat little bottles inside her.
Yes.
And
everyone pray for John.
Yeah. Okay, here's the thing. Obviously, I don't think Ruby's the type of person who would, like, legit straight up, like, blame John for it, because, like, you know, like, she's gonna be really upset, but I don't see her, like, you know, like hating him or like attacking him for it, but it could make for like a pretty.
It's going to be a temporary.
But
thing,
I could see
probably.
her being. Yeah, I could see her being a bit like uncomfortable for a little while, maybe. I guess.
Yeah.
Just, and everything, but like not in the sense of actually blaming him, obviously, because that wouldn't be fair. But just in the sense of like, well, shit, that's fucked up kind of way, which would make sense. So. I do think that there's some potential there for some like RWBY. Like I think a lot of people thought that RWBY sort of running out of the the discussion they were having and breaking down about Summer was like, but that didn't feel like her big breakdown moment to me. Like it felt like a little taste, an appetizer of what's gonna come.
Yeah. Again, I think
there's still a lot of emotion she has not let out, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be good, but also like, oof, when that happens. So
again. What I want from this, I don't think this is going to happen, but what I want from this is we finally get the RWBY goes apeshit moment. She's tired of being nice. She just wants to go apeshit.
I did love that she was basically willing to kill Neo. Like, she was going for blood with Neo.
People have had enough of Neo's shit. Neo is in so much danger.
Like Blake, Ruby, and Wise all straight up fucking tried to murder her. I love it. And Ruby's moment, my favorite Ruby moment this volume has to be the bit where she goddamn T-poses to assert dominance on the edge. Like, was it worth it? And then just fucking, like, that was so good. Yes, give me more of this.
Oh, man.
Ruby has come Ruby's character has come a long way for me in the past couple of volumes.
Definitely.
I'm interested to see if, like, I never disliked her at all, but compared to the other three characters, she just wasn't like, she was never like at the top of my list, but the last couple of volumes have done a lot of work with her, so I'm interested to see if they continue that momentum forward. That I want to see her go apeshit, so that would be good.
I actually just realized the points I was going to make are going to fit better on another slide, so I'm just going to save them.
I have one more thing.
Oh yeah, go
Going off of people predicting things on the podcast, I think it was Merc who called the Team Rainbow, really just condemning Penny to death there.
Oh.
Damn.
Sent straight to super hell for fruits. Okay. Yes. Okay. I accidentally put Ladybug on 2 slides.
Yeah.
Whatever. We already did it. Just you get an extra slide. Okay. A couple other things before we move on. We actually got to see Salem fight. That was something that, like, is kind of a minor thing, but it's like, we haven't actually seen her in action yet.
That's true.
It was kind of neat to see, like, how she uses, like, a lot of environmental hazards, like having, like, the Grim Arms come up from, like, the walls and the floors, and, like, how... I actually love the animation they do on her, and, like, making her, like... putting herself back together look really creepy and unnerving, and having everything be super unnatural looking. Like, I love that all of the little touches they do on, like, Salem's animation. I don't know if anyone...
I agree.
Like, the moment where Yang blows her tits up was very, like, holy shit. Like, her chest just blows out. It was like, I was like... Huh?
And just
like,
looking
like,
straight at her as she just like reforms.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I was just like, that was like, that was some body horror shit. That was cool. Like, nice.
It also means Yang is capable of doing this to a regular human.
Yeah, we're not gonna think about that.
I mean, okay, a regular human would have aura. They would have aura.
That is true. That is true.
A regular human with a broken aura.
Yeah, that would be,
that's
Oof.
Anyway, there's a I feel like there's a lot of like fridge logic with RWBY where it's like, if you really thought about it, it's like, well, if we wanted to make this really bloody and gory, we absolutely could.
Yeah.
By the way, could we get a little more blood in this show? There were so many scenes. There were a couple of scenes with a bunch of bodies on screen where I'm like, just put some blood on them. Just put a little bit of blood on the bodies.
Get the ketchup out.
Oh, what?
I just get the ketchup out, because like ketchup's often used as like shitty blood replacement.
I saw like, oh, sorry, what?
I think Oscar has like a black eye, and then in the next shot he doesn't, and I was like, okay.
Oh, that's
Post at I saw a post at some point or a tweet or something that joked about how like the scene where Cinder stabs Rhodes, you can't see, like, there's no blood at all. And it's because they wasted all of the blood animation on Clover stuff.
They have like a
Sorry, it's all used up.
they have like a finite amount of blood in the bucket. They've just like they're just like we it's empty. Oh no, no more blood.
Right.
So yeah, again, I highly
It's like
doubt.
using the F word. They're like, oh, we only get one. So.
Yes, that's
but
exactly how they think about it.
But that actually is, I mean, that is kind of it. You can't, there is only so much blood you can have until it bumps you up into the next rating budget. Not to mention that, like, fluid dynamics are expensive. So adding blood to any shot is immediately, like, making it more and more expensive.
True.
Yeah. I'm sure there are, like, reasons why they don't do it. It's just a little weird to see, like, a scene that's obviously supposed to be kind of or, like, that's supposed to be, like, fucked up because you're seeing dead bodies on screen and no blood. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing that I was actually very happy about this volume, they gave Crow and Robin, like, an interaction early on in the volume where I was like, ah, shit, they're gonna make them a couple, aren't they?
And then they didn't.
So far, knocking on wood, that doesn't appear to be what's going on. I hope.
He's got another.
I'm praying.
He's got another bird sibling. He's got a new bird sibling whose name starts with R to replace the
sibling ship ended with Raven. Now Robin is my sibling.
No, I like their interactions a lot. Like her sort of like just trying to kind of like her trying to cheer him up in the first few episodes, then like her opening up about her own semblance and its effect on her, which was neat. Like it gave her a little bit more depth. It was a nice moment, and just like the whole sort of like and Crow unlocking the new like a new part of his semblance was something that I have been on board with that for a long time. I thought it was going to happen. I was always convinced that his semblance was just like luck as a whole or probability as a whole, and that it was his mindset that was sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. And it was very validating to see that actually happen, because it makes a lot of sense, and it's by far the most logical route to go with his character. So
yeah, it's like maybe what if Crow and Clover did not have opposite semblances? They had the same semblance,
but they just came at it from completely different angles, and I like that a lot. That's cool.
Right.
Yes. So yeah, that was a nice reveal. I like that a lot. It did good things for Crow.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was actually one of my favorite
brother.
Small moments in the volume. But yeah, I'm glad they gave Crow a friend who isn't going to die horribly. Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
We're knocking on a lot of wood this episode. Speaking of the Aesops and Clover, what the hell was up with giving Harriet a crush on Clover as a character motivation?
That was so fucking weird.
I'm just gonna jump in and say that I did not remotely read it that way. I just saw it as her looking up to him as her boss. Like, I never thought for a second that we were meant to interpret it that way.
It's
having the lesbian character have the lesbian coded character have a crush on the gay man to prove that they're both heterosexual is ridiculous.
Like maybe I'm just bad at reading vibes, but yeah, I didn't get that like vibe from it at all. I didn't interpret it that way.
It's so funny to me because apparently there was a RWBY YouTuber, and I purposefully don't watch RWBY tubers because they tend to, you know, they get their money from clickbaiting and like intentionally being negative, and like most of the time that is not the content I want to consume. But apparently some RWBY tuber like correctly predicted that this would happen, and everyone thought he was insane, and then it did. Which is, like, so funny that he made this completely batshit prediction, and then the writers decided to be batshit in the exact way that he was. If anyone knows the name of that guy, drop it in the comments, because I just think that's extremely funny. Okay, what were we saying? Right. Harriet and Clover. Yeah, the thing, okay, Pug, the thing you said about having, like, the guy that everyone thinks is gay and the girl who everyone thinks is a lesbian, like, having, like, implying that was a thing to make them both straight is hilarious. It also, I think, ties into something that I didn't mention in a previous slide, but I think is worth pointing out. I don't think the writers, like, care about shippers in the way that a
Right.
lot of people think they do. I think they care about Renora. They might care about Bumblebee, but I think outside of that, like, nuts and bolts people, down horrendous. Iron Crow people, down horrendous. Fair game, don't even get me started. Like, there are so many popular... Oh, the fucking White Rose people have made Clown their entire brand. Like, they like, watch the show, but they're gonna complain about it the whole time. Like... There are so many popular ships in this show.
Yeah,
that
like, it's funny. It's so funny to me when people try and use the argument of like, "Oh, Bumblebee was only put in is only canon because of the shippers," and I'm sitting here like, pointing to all these other things. Like, I completely believe them when they say that the shippers don't influence the writing, because like, if it did, White Rose would also be canon.
Yes!
And it is not.
Yeah.
Like,
There are so many
Like,
popular ships.
And again, I'm not saying it's a bad thing that they don't like consider the shippers or whatever. Actually, overall I think it's probably for the best.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, it's so illogical to me to hear that argument, because it's like, the fuck?
Yeah,
How can you think this? It makes no sense.
If they really cared about fan service for the shipping community for this show, they have a gazillion opportunities to do this.
Right.
But
Like, literally,
Right.
the way some of the people talk about, like, those people talk about Bumblebee, you would think that they were like fucking on screen every 5 seconds, and I'm like, this is like the least fan servicey like RWBY that like there is like ever. Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It's like a fucking Twitter user Sue Dealer every Friday before the new RWBY episode. Bumblebee sex tomorrow.
Oh god, the running joke.
I mean,
Sorry, Pug.
Beach sex volume 9, guys. It's totally gonna happen.
Oh god.
It's totally gonna happen, I swear.
Bad
I
idea. Don't want sand in your orifices.
Oh god. No, now I'm thinking about Anakin's fucking line about sand.
Yes!
What is this happening?
He was right. Anakin was right about that.
He's right. I don't
my
know why he
God.
said it, but he's not wrong.
Sorry, Pug.
I just think I've said this many times in many variations, but I think queer representation, shipping, and fan service are all 3 things that the RWBY fandom thinks is one thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. I 100%.
But
sorry.
I agree that I don't think that the writers in any way pander to shippers, but I also think that that's a fundamental misunderstanding of what either queer representation or fan service is. Min notoriously says people are too online, and I think anyone that identifies in the shipping category in that way, I think you're a little too online.
Yeah. I was just gonna say, in terms of like queer rep, like May, fucking amazing. Like, everything about her, I just have to say I love her. Anyway,
Same.
just
The
side note.
existence
Like,
of-
that whole scene, just Kaden Jensen's so good. Like,
The existence of
I love
May, by the way, is part of why. Okay,
yes.
not to be too salty, but I wasn't like super into the people who were very invested in like the trans Penny headcanon.
Yeah.
Right.
In the sense of like, I get
Yeah.
how you read her plotline as a trans allegory, but it kind of seems to me like if RWBY is going to put an LGBT character in the show, they'll just put a fucking LGBT character
Yeah, I
in
mean,
the show.
that's what they've
Right,
done.
right.
That's what they've done every time before. So like,
It's not
exactly,
like it's not
May
like
literally like.
it's not like X-Men where they're not gay, they're just gay coded.
Isn't that the problem though? Because people are angry at RWBY because Penny didn't fit the trans allegory, but RWBY actually does have a trans character who
Yeah.
you don't
Right.
stand. So it's like the thing that you want is in fact
Exactly.
not
Like,
queer
it's right
representation. That's not what
Like-
you're looking for. You want to project and you want to be
Yeah. And like,
validated in your
fine.
projection.
but can
Yeah.
you acknowledge
Right.
that? Like,
Yeah.
that's not like that's the thing. Yeah, it's very
that's
true.
a whole
Like,
can of worms though.
I liked the trans Penny headcanon, but like May is like explicit canon trans rep done really well, voiced by a trans woman right fucking there. Like,
They
But-
can't be
but-
compared.
That isn't to say that like there is, you have to like the
Oh,
one
yeah,
trans character,
exactly.
right?
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
but it's just like you have to acknowledge that like that is explicit canon rep, like that is there in the
Yeah.
show, and like that's not the same as you having like a strong headcanon of a character as
People say representation in the abstract when what they actually are looking for is a bit more specific. It's a specific kind of representation coming in a specific way.
Like, you'll often see a reaction when you have a piece of media which does have like an explicit canon same-sex relationship in it, where if there was like where you'll have a subset of people who strongly shipped like an alternate same-sex ship in the same piece of media, who will tend to react as though the show has like either no LGBT plus rep or like bad LGBT plus rep because it wasn't the specific ship that they wanted.
Yeah.
Are you sub-posting Teen Wolf?
No, actually, because I've never watched Teen Wolf. I'm vaguely aware of that whole thing, but like,
I think that's a thing in Teen Wolf.
I'm talking in general. I'm absolutely not talking about anything in particular because I've seen it happen like loads of places, and I'm not thinking of one specific thing, but it's like that's it. That's exactly like what you were saying. Like, yeah, like, and that's not to say that you can't like want a specific like character or headcanon or like ship to be canon. Like, of course you can. Like, that's part of the fun of investing in media. But you just have to take that step back and have that self-awareness to be like, okay, but like, is this actually like, am I ignoring all this stuff that's actually like there?
I think the RWBY fandom, and I mean, lots of fandoms have this problem, but I just notice it because I'm so deep in RWBY fandom is confusing where canon ends and fanon begins. In the sense,
don't get me started.
There's a lot of fanon around RWBY, and I think if you spend enough time consuming fan content, you can start to believe that characters are how they are in fanon. That is also I think where a lot of bad faith criticism of the show comes from, is people, for example, who like think Weiss's character is like bad now, are people who like got really invested in the fanon version of Weiss, which is based off of how she was in volume 2, and then being like, oh, she's not like that anymore, so they fucked up her character. Like, that's just one example, but there's lots of stuff in RWBY fandom.
And again, it's like, there's nothing wrong with having consumed a lot of fan content and sort of internalized it, but again, you have to have the self-awareness to be like, okay, but like, this thing that I believe to be completely true about this character, like, is that actually because like the text has like shown me this or told me this, or is it because I've read so many fanfics where this is true of the character that I'm like, it's just got ingrained in my head and I can't like separate the two? Because like, again, I feel like everyone does that stuff like to a bit of an extent, but like you just need to be aware of it.
Definitely.
Like that's all it is. It's not inherently a bad thing, it's just something that you have to be conscious of
sometimes. You need
particularly when you're critiquing something, because there are a lot of bad faith takes that come from that place.
Sometimes you need to just log the fuck off. Okay, this is a whole separate tangent we went on, but it's a good conversation, but we got to get back on track. We still have a few other things to cover. One of the things that people have been kind of laughing about ever since the end of the volume is that Maria and Pietro are just kind of stranded on Amity, and we never came back to them.
We were robbed of like the big dramatic like kiss between them as like everything behind them. I'm joking, but like half joking.
It could happen. It could happen.
I like them. Don't get me wrong, but I was, but like, you know, we were like, give me that like Shepard Liara kiss as like the shadow breaker where fucking explodes behind them. Like, they deserve it.
But where are they? What are they okay?
Like, I assume that I'm pretty sure they're meant to be like alive, because otherwise we would have found out. But like, it was kind of funny that we didn't like just like have a couple of seconds of just like, oh, there they are, okay.
According to them, they drifted off to just the north of where they currently were. So just north of like Atlas Mantle. But like, why don't we show them landing at least?
Like, they're just chilling there, like, wonder what's happening in. It's probably fine. Like, Atlas is falling behind them. Like,
side
comes
note,
back half an hour late with Starbucks.
Yes,
exactly.
Hey guys, what did we miss?
Like, we got coffee.
I think part of the
the pizza guy, the guy walking in with the pizza and everything's just on fire.
I think part of the we were talking before about like the convenience, and like I really think a lot of writing decisions this volume were made for purely mechanical reasons, and part of that is like I think, thinning the cast, in that people do
I
complain
will agree with that.
that RWBY has too many characters, and that is valid because it has so many that a lot of them don't get any development. And so this volume did a lot to, like, we got rid of Watts, we got rid of Hazel, we got rid of Jacques, Maria and Pietro are on a bus now, we killed Penny again, Ironwood is at least going to be out of commission for a while, probably. Like, we've pushed a lot of people out of the limelight, and so
which is one of the things where in the long run it will probably be good, but like it means that some of they had to kind of cut some corners to get there.
Yeah,
which isn't always the most satisfying. Like I get them wanting to thin the cast because, like, yeah, as you said, completely valid. Like there volume 4 and 5 especially did struggle with this, with too many characters. So it's a good thing that they're thinning the cast. But like, yeah, it's more just a case of like sometimes it's kind of like it's like you kind of have to. You're like, okay, well, it's like it's a necessary sacrifice to be like, okay, this isn't gonna be like too great in the moment, but we need to get rid of them. So we're gonna.
That really is the problem with this volume. Actually, you know what? Pug, go ahead.
I just think, in addition to thinning the cast, I don't think that we can complain that the volume feels crammed, and then also say we want to give precious screen time to like Amity landing.
That's a fair point.
This is very true.
I think the show really, I've said this before, so I won't, beat a dead horse here, but I think the show has outgrown its format in a lot of ways, and I think that decisions like that, it's just like, are we really going to give that a few seconds of screen time? Wouldn't we rather dedicate it to character development or a fight?
Yeah. Right. I think ambitious is a word you could use to describe RWBY as a show a lot, and it's one of the things I really like about it, but it's also the source of like its most obvious drawbacks.
Yes.
Because,
very true.
Like, it's like I'm amazed, I'm so proud and so impressed by how far the show's grown, but at the same time, like it's ambitious. It's come so far from where it started that, I mean, I think a lot of people would agree it feels like a very different show it not completely, but in a lot of ways, it's a very different show now to what it was at the beginning, which is both good and bad. It's a double-edged sword, like a lot of things. And yeah, a lot of the things that, like, a lot of the ways the show has, like, grown so much and got a lot better, that, like, they've introduced new, like, issues that have to be contended with in the process, which, I mean, is just how life goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true.
It's the ambition. You shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you will piss off YouTube user Eldena Doublecast on a podcast. And then final...
You shoot for the moon, and it breaks into a million pieces.
Final note. I said note and point at the same time. I said like noint. Final noit before we move on. I don't really care about the soundtrack, but other people do. So if anyone wants to go off on the soundtrack, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited for the soundtrack every single time. Music is just something I care about immensely, especially in shows, media, and stuff. It's something that can be so personal to me. I know we haven't gotten the full soundtrack yet, but just from what we've heard in this volume, I mean, I'm almost always impressed with what Jeff and Casey can do, like adding to the experience of the story in different ways. But yeah, definitely the songs in this volume sound very good. I'm very excited to hear the full versions when they eventually come out. And the instrumental score was also just amazing, as always.
Good stuff. I have one minor gripe about the music. I liked it for most of the volume, but I thought that in the scene in the Cinder backstory episode...
Oh my god, yes.
the song is too on the nose. It is.
It's so bad. I hate it.
It's just, just put a sad piano instrumental behind her.
Right?
It's fine.
Come on.
You don't. That's really the problem with a lot of RWBY music, is that I feel like there are exceptions.
Too wordy?
There are exceptions, but yes, they're musical songs. They're very literal and they're very narrative, and so a lot of times you'd be better off with the instrumentals than with the lyrics. There's exceptions. There's exceptions like the Red Like Roses scene in Volume 1, like that slaps silly, but a lot of the times it's just not necessary.
This is why I consider Bad Luck Charm to be one of the funniest songs in the entire show.
Oh yeah, we don't. Do we hear? Oh no, it plays during the Crow-Tyrion fight, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
But yeah, Bad Luck Charm is like comically literal. It's so... I will hold... I have said many times before, RWBY music is butt rock for people who like musicals, and I hold to that.
I mean, I do like
agree,
musicals,
but...
so guilty as charged.
See?
It's my guilty pleasure.
Yeah, I was
it
gonna
is
say
my
about
guilty
the,
pleasure.
about the music. I was just gonna say, like, I usually look forward to the like lyrical tracks
Soundtrack?
more than the instrumentals, just because for me, like personally, I'm more into music with words. But this volume is probably the one exception since the beginning of the show for me, in the sense that I'm actually more excited for the instrumental music this time. Not that I thought that the like bits we got of the lyrical tracks song sounded bad, but just the instrumental music this volume, like there were several bits that really stood out to me, and it was just like, whoo! I'm looking forward to having that, like to like actually, you know, that I can listen to it whenever I want. So yeah,
it's funny.
Like, Jeff and Casey are very talented though, like really impressive. So,
I'm like the exact opposite, where like for the past 2 weeks I've been listening to nothing but like Japanese music. I do not speak Japanese. Just having the fucking Pastel Palettes cover of Luca Luca Night Fever on repeat.
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay. It's time to close things out. Because normally I close things out with discourse, but because I sort of put everything in one pot this time, the discourse was kind of spread throughout. I thought, what better way to end the podcast than with speculation? Because Volume 8 ended on such a... what's the word I'm looking for? Anything is possible, basically.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen
San
next?
Diego.
San Diego.
San Diego! They finally came to Brazil. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna format this. I'm gonna have an actual structure. I hate that I didn't put this on the slide, because I thought of this literally like an hour ago whilst we were recording. Here's how I want to format this. We're gonna go around, and I want everyone to say what they want to happen next volume, and what they think will happen next volume.
Right.
And that can be, I'm leaving it intentionally vague, interpret that however you see fit. We will begin with Pug.
Oh no. Okay. What I want to happen is that Nora will get character development. What I think will happen is that Ruby and Neo will get character development. Will Blake and Yang kiss is on this slide. I'm gonna say no. I hope I'm wrong, honestly. Like, I hope I'm wrong. I hope you guys all get what you want, but I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I have a bunch of questions on this slide. You can ignore them if you want.
Oh, okay. I think the Summer Rose plotline will be followed up on. I think the Nora exploring who she is plotline will not be followed up on. Geez, I like wasn't prepared for this at all.
I'm sorry. I should have put this. I wish I had thought of this earlier, because this is a good format, but I probably should have given everyone time to think about it.
And I want Cinder and Salem to be badass together, but I'm concerned that Cinder will learn that Salem was the evil stepmother all along, and I will be sad. I just want Booby Squad together for like
That's a mood, though.
Just let the two sexy evil girl bosses do their thing together for a bit.
That's all I want. I mean, that's all I want, but I'm just worried about it in general.
Yeah, valid. Rio.
Oh boy. Okay, well, what I want to happen is that they touch base with the whole God of Light and Darkness thing, because it seems like they're currently in what would be considered a pocket realm, because they're basically in what they asked Ambrosius to make is adjacent world to their own. So basically what the relic worlds are. So it would be cool to follow up with things that they already have in place, but I feel like we're not going to do that at all, and it's probably going to be them mostly on the island and maybe going back and forth between the people who are still on Remnant and everyone who fell. So it might be another one of those like Volume 4-esque type things that I'm not really fond of, where it just keeps going back and forth with every episode. But I do think that they're probably going to try to give the main four, and I guess Jean and Neo, some character development of like working through the trauma that they all just experienced. And because the island kind of has the vibe of like the Tree of Life or any of those other kind of things that all are pretty similar, where it's like the place between death and being alive. I feel like they might meet people who have passed. Maybe.
Maybe.
We'll see. That might never happen.
The all of the Pyrrha Nikos conspiracy theorists are drooling right now at the possibility of that.
Yeah, it would be neat to see her in the new animation style, at least. Not really, I don't really want her back, though, I'll be honest.
I gotta say, if they bring Pyrrha back, it's full Dragon Ball status. Like, I'm sorry, like, it's just like death doesn't matter anymore.
I mean, okay, but if they were to bring characters back, I don't think that they're permanently back. I think it's just on this island is where they are, because it's a place between death and life. So they're not going to come back to Remnant with them.
Interesting.
Dragon Ball status if we get Penny, but not Pyrrha.
That's situational, because Penny is a weird case. But we'll have to get there when we get there.
I mean, isn't Goku a weird case?
I think more in terms of, okay, the reason why Dragon Ball is what I go to is that, like, that's part of the plot mechanic, is that, like, you can wish to revive people, and there's a lot of wishes going on, so it's, like, it's just at will, almost. But, sorry, we're getting very off topic. Leo, what are your wants, and what are your predictions?
Okay, so what I'm mainly very much hoping and looking forward to in Volume 9 is just... I'm very much looking forward to whatever they're gonna do with John and the whole thing with, and potentially, like we've talked about, with RWBY going apeshit. Please. I think it's very interesting that Neo is there, and I'm looking forward to whatever kind of shenanigans that's gonna escalate, because she's there with all of them and can't get out, I guess. I have a lot of questions about this whole like the end credit scene. It's too ambiguous for me to really form any theories, I guess. Like, some people say it's the Tree of Life, like more Norse mythology stuff. Some people say more Alice in Wonderland. I don't really know what to think anymore. But I think the one thing that seems likely that I'm probably expecting from Volume 9 is just Therapy Island. Probably for everyone. I don't know how it's gonna, like, I have no idea how it's gonna happen. I can't figure it out. I just, Therapy Island in one way or another, and some small characterization, like character dynamic stuff that maybe could happen that I'm looking forward to.
Cool. Very good. Bethany.
Yeah, in both the want and expect category, the main thing I have is like Blake and Yang kissing, because just the way they ended off Volume 8 makes it feel like it, and also I think where Blake and Yang's like whole relationship has been structured in like three separate like 3-volume arcs so far, with like Volume 1 to 3 being like becoming partners, getting to know each other, concluding with like the kickoff of the Adam thing, which then goes another 3 volumes before being concluded. These last couple of volumes have been sort of like them like getting used to like being around each other again without like Adam there, and flirting with each other, like solidifying the fact that yes, like they're into each other and everything, with all the blushing and the awkward flirting, which is really nice. And so it feels like, so therefore, based on that structure and also the way that Volume 8 left off, Volume 9 feels like the volume. And also the fact that they're going to be like, the group is like more condensed in one place. If there's ever a time it's easy to do it, it's now. And I think they're probably going to.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, but apart from that, yeah, like I kind of expect Therapy Island too. And I think it would be like, I'm torn on how I want it to happen exactly, but I kind of maybe want like I don't want it to go full like sort of, you know, like psychedelic trip, because that would be too much, but I maybe want like, you know, just like a little bit of sort of like mental shenanigans and stuff that would be like, and everything as they work through their shit, that would be kind of cool. Like I kind of expect it to be, I sort of touched on this earlier, but I expect it to be a slower paced, character focused, kind of like bit of a breather volume before going back to the thick of the action, but like using that time to to deal with like the kind of trauma of the characters who ended up there and refocus on the main force. So, which is why I'm actually like volume 7 and 8 are not two of the volumes that I think I would like go back and rewatch like loads compared to some of the other ones. Because although there was an awful lot of stuff I really loved in them, a lot of great stuff that was really technically great in them, they being the end of the like second act thing, they kind of it's not like I wouldn't go back to rewatch them to make myself feel good if I wanted that. But I feel but what the end of volume 8 did do is I came out of it feeling so hyped for volume 9 because of all the potential like it's one of those things where there's a lot of potential routes they could take, and I feel like I'll kind of be satisfied with most of them, like that and everything. So like I'm really like I'm just generally intrigued for volume 9 and everything, and really hyped, especially because it's going to be a slightly shorter volume. I'm like,
I was about to comment on that.
Cool. It's going to be cool, and so basically, I guess my wants and expectations are like somewhat overlapping, but I want Therapy Island, and I expect that I'll get it, but who knows if it'll be in the exact way that I want it.
It'll be like the last few episodes, I was joking about this on Twitter, the last few episodes of Neon Genesis Evangelion, where it's like, we ran out of money after the last season, so this time it's all one location, and everyone's just talking to each other.
God.
Yeah.
So my wants... RWBY to go apeshit. We already discussed this.
Yes.
I feel like if there was ever a time, her finding out that Jean killed Penny should be it. And then related to that, what I really want, and what I do not think will happen at all, is for the show to re-examine its themes. What I mean by this is that a core theme of RWBY up to this point is like part of like the arc of like Pyrrha's death and them dealing with it is kind of taking the perspective of like sacrificing yourself heroically, even if it's like a hopeless situation, even if, you ultimately don't succeed. If there was a chance that you can help people, it's worth it, right? That was their whole thing they set up with Pyrrha. And I kind of want them to like question that. I want them to wonder if that's really the best way to look at things, because, like, I wish that Penny's death feels as shitty for the characters as it does for me, basically. This is entirely selfish, but I feel like what I'm afraid they will do, this is kind of in my expectations, but I'm not sure, is, like, basically, yes, they'll be sad about it, but they will very quickly turn around and be like, you know what? She made a choice, and she like died for the like greater good, and she knew what she was doing, and like, so it's all good in the end, and we can just keep fighting. And like, I want people to be like really traumatized by this in a way that we haven't quite seen them before. As for my expectations, sorry, I forgot. One more want is coconut bras. That would be nice. But my expectations, I'm really expecting nothing going into the next volume. I have no expectations. So I'm just gonna say we finally get 3 words: canon Jean harem.
Oh no.
Please no.
All right, let's wrap this shit up. Final thoughts on Volume 8 post-discourse. Pug.
I guess my final thoughts on the Volume 8 are kind of, every season I watch the show and I'm told like, oh, the payoff is next season. The payoff is next season. And I'm kind of at the point with RWBY now where it's like, okay, we're 8 volumes in. Like, at some point, the payoff has to be satisfying, and it can't be like, oh, well, they're saving it for the next season. I am by no means hate watching the show. Like, I don't have the energy to do something that silly. I do genuinely enjoy it. There are characters I love. Like, I really love Winter. I'm coming back around on Cinder. But I think for me to stick around, Volume 9 is going to have to kind of learn from the mistakes of volume 8. And I'm really, as much shit as I give the writers, I'm really hopeful that they're able to do that.
I'm actually in pretty much the same boat in that, like you said, I'm not hate watching the show. I was kind of in my post-Penny death rage. I kind of said, like, oh, if they do one more thing like this, I'm dropping the show for good. But, like, I'm going to keep watching this show, but, like, this volume was just sloppy. They just poorly executed a bunch of big plot points, and it sucks, but, like, again, RWBY's writing is kind of a dice roll. It's all over the place, and so it's equally probable that it could be really good or really bad. Just depends on their mood. Rio.
Oh, volume 8 is all right. I definitely will not be going back and watching it again. The twice that I saw it was enough for me. Maybe I'll see the cool things in like gift sets on Tumblr, but like that's about it. Like I don't really want to watch it again, but I'm hoping that volume 9 will be different because like they genuinely do write pretty okay a lot lot of the time. Like I'll give them credit.
That's such
like,
damning
really
with faint
6.
praise. I'm sorry. That's really funny to me.
It's hard, okay? Like sometimes it's really good and then sometimes it's not, and it's like you said, it's a dice roll every time. And like volume 6 was really good in my opinion, and then from there it kind of is all over the place. Like some scenes are really good, some scenes are not, but I feel like if we have a smaller group of characters in volume 9, it might go better for them because they're not worried about like 100 characters all the time. So I'm hopeful, but still hesitant, I guess.
That's true. Reducing the scale could potentially help out a lot. I think it's funny that you mentioned, like, you know, they're pretty okay most of the time. I have a couple of friends who've basically said, like, yeah, I think I like discoursing about RWBY more than I like watching the show, because the show is horribly inconsistent, but there's so much to talk about all the time.
There is.
And that's why I do a fucking 2.5 hour podcast for every volume. Leo.
I'm just gonna say this really quick. Because of the Wi-Fi issues I had before, I'm using the hotspot on my phone to do this, and it needs to be charged, so maybe we could go with Bethany first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Basically, Volume 8, I think I sort of already said this, it's not one that I'm going to be going back to rewatch like really often like I would Volume 6 or something. There were a lot of a lot of things about it I really enjoyed, a lot of like cool moments, a lot of things that were technically very good, some other things that were just kind of a meh shrug from me, and yeah, mostly just left me really looking forward to Volume 9 because of how different that's going to be and everything, and just because of the completely different feel it's probably going to have, and I'm just really intrigued to see what exactly Volume 9 turns out to be, because it's very difficult to predict beyond some very broad strokes things what it's going to be like. So yeah, that's basically my feeling.
All right, Leo, any final thoughts before we sign off?
Yeah, okay, I'm here. I think, like I said in the beginning, I enjoyed most of Volume 8 a lot. Like, I enjoy RWBY as a whole, even when it's not that great. It's kind of difficult for me to judge it too hard or dislike too hard. Like, I personally just can't, and that's just me. I can't personally really let go how much this show like has an emotional like importance to me, kind of, and so I'm always going to be a little bit biased, I think, and I don't think I can change that. But overall, Volume 8 did have a lot of ups and downs, and there are definitely some stuff that could have been done a lot better. I'm not an expert on how exactly it could have been done better, but a lot of stuff, while it felt like there was a lot of wasted potential somewhere, and some stuff that maybe was really unnecessary, I enjoyed it for the most part. And while it's not one of the volumes I go back to watch for comfort, as we like talked about, it's good. I liked it. It was fine.
I agree. I think on that note, that pretty much covers all the ground we possibly could have. I'm sure we forgot something, and the comments will let me know about that. But I think that's enough. We're already over time. Thank you everyone so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed watching or listening. And tune in around this time next year for the Volume 9 episode, where Pug and I will probably be even saltier than we were this time. Let the salt flow forth like a mighty river. All right, that's it. Say goodbye, everyone.
Yep.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you very much for having me.